after homophobic tweets from his past resurfaced and he initially refused to apologize.
During an interview on The Ellen Show that's set to air today, Ellen made the push for him to come back to the Oscars. Ellen going as far as saying she personally called the Academy essentially campaigning for Hart's return. Hart recognized how hurtful and dangerous his words were in the past, but also says he's apologized before and has done a lot of growing since then. As far as coming back as the host of the Oscars, the comedian says he's still hesitant over what happened last time. In Los Angeles, Jeff Paul, Fox News.
Again, an hour to the close on Wall Street. The Dow's up 747. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With us, look at local news from the newsroom. I'm Bob Fisher reporting. A candle has been pinpointed as the cause of a fire at a downtown Fort Dodge apartment complex yesterday. The Fort Dodge Fire Department tells us that they were called to the Biltwell Apartments at 106 North 10th Street shortly before 7 a.m. after a fire broken out in one of the apartments on the 6th floor. Firefighters were quickly able to control the blaze, but were on the scene for about 5 hours. One of the 6 people injured was taken to the hospital and treated for smoke inhalation. The fire destroyed the apartment on the northeastern quarter of the 6th floor and caused heat and smoke damage throughout the rest of that floor. Firefighters determined that the fire was started by an unattended candle in a bedroom. During the late stages of the 2018 campaign, Republican Governor Kim Reynolds proposed letting Iowa women buy the pill without a prescription. She plans to press the 2019 legislature to pass a bill that would make birth control pills available in Iowa without a doctor's prescription.
This is another opportunity for us to have bipartisan support in something that makes sense.
In 2016, Democrats in the Iowa Senate passed a bill to make the policy in Iowa, but Republicans in the House tabled the proposal. Republican House Speaker Linda Upmeyer of Clear Lake says not all birth control pills are alike, and legislators will have to seek input from the medical community.
There are reasons that a physician would prescribe one over another. If someone has a predisposition to breast cancer, you want to make sure you're paying attention to your estrogen levels. Maybe there is one that is incredibly safe that people could agree to put on the shelf. I don't think we're opposed to that, but I do think we want to make sure it's safe for Iowans to have that access.
Democrats strongly criticized Reynolds for signing a bill last May to ban nearly all abortions, and Senate Democratic leader Janet Peterson of Des Moines says they're skeptical of this proposal too.
Iowa is in a really sad state as far as women's health care goes. It's getting harder and harder for women to find places and providers to get family planning services.
Peterson says many women want more effective long-term contraceptives rather than birth control pills, and the Republican effort to defund Planned Parenthood clinics has reduced access to those long-term options, especially in rural areas. The outline Governor Reynolds sketched during the campaign called for keeping birth control pills behind the pharmacy counter but letting women buy them without a prescription. Her proposal did not cover other birth control options. Iowans who raise money for nonprofits and foundations are facing new challenges in the new year as a new federal tax law is raising concerns. Stacey Palmer is editor of the Chronicle of Philanthropy and says overall charitable contributions have been rising from low-income earners and those on the high end.
Middle-income people give in a lot of different ways, but that's where the biggest drop in the share of people who are giving is coming. And so people are really starting to raise questions about how can you persuade those people to start giving again or giving more.
That fall in donations from middle-income earners is a problem, she says, because nonprofits need a broad base of support for stability and growth. Also, Palmer says charities are worried donations will decrease by millions of dollars because of the new tax law. And an unusually warm weekend is ahead for Iowans, with forecasters calling for highs in the mid-40s to mid-50s. For some cities, that's 25 degrees above normal. State climatologist Justin Glisson says it's a continuation of the weather we had during December, which averaged about 5 degrees warmer than the normal statewide. Glisson says it was a wetter month, too.
Statewide precipitation averaged about 2.09 inches, and that's about 3/4 of an inch above normal. And most of that precipitation fell as rainfall, not snow. In terms of snowfall itself, we were much below average, around 3 inches on the ground statewide, and typically we see about 8 inches.
Some Iowans have not even fired up their snow blowers yet, or have they had to toss one shovel of snow. Looking ahead, Glisson says they'll likely remain warmer and wetter for several more days.
Getting into the first full week of January into the second week, we're slated to have temperatures well above average, which we don't see that typically in January. On the flip side of that, we do have an increased probability of precipitation over that time period.
Any precipitation that does fall over the upcoming 10 days or so will likely come down as rain, he says, and not as snow. And that's a look at local news from the newsroom. I'm Bob Fisher reporting.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. We'll see mostly sunny skies here this afternoon, a high into the upper 40s. Winds out of the west around 5 to 10 miles per hour. For tonight, mostly clear skies, a low near 29, and winds out of the west around 5 to 10. By Saturday, sunshine, a high around 47 degrees, west winds around 5 to 10. Sunday, mostly cloudy and a high around 40. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki.
Currently, it's 46.
Free offer contingent on subscription. Pay shipping and handling. Cancel anytime. Message and data rates may apply.
Guys, the secret is out. If you want healthy intimacy, your body needs nitric oxide. And now you can boost your nitric oxide production faster than you thought possible with Ageless Male Tonight. Just take one capsule an hour before romantic activity. You'll get clinically tested ingredients that rapidly boost nitric oxide production, and it won't go unnoticed. Ageless Male Tonight has already taken Rite Aid by storm, but you can get started by having 5 free doses delivered to your door. No questionnaires, no online tests. Just call 1-800-461-3012. After a long back order, Ageless Male Tonight is finally back in stock. For your 5 free doses, just call 1-800-461-3012. If results are too intense, please decrease use. 1-800-461-3012. 1-800-461-3012.
When one door closes, another door opens. I said, another door opens. Another door opens.
Door issues? P&R Entry Doors will come to your business and replace your hollow metal entry door fast. And if your garage door is giving you fits, P&R Entry Doors will handle that too. Family owned and operated for 30 years. For a free estimate, call 573-8883. Online at pndrentrydoors.com.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
You don't have bad luck. The reason that bad things happen to you is because you're a dumbass.
Michael Devine and Nevin Mulholland talking sports on AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right, we're back. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. It's Friday. We must be talking sports.
You know that opening?
Yeah.
They should open up Fran McCaffrey's basketball show with that.
Bad things don't happen to
No,
you.
not that.
No, that one.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one.
Where you're a dumb.
Bad things don't happen to you because of bad luck. It's because you're a dumbass.
Golly, Mike. I mean, how much more do these Hawk fans have to take?
I don't know.
I mean, come on. I got a stat here for you that is mind-boggling when it comes to Fran the man.
I hate this.
And you know, I've talked to a couple different diehard Hawkeye fans today, and you know, they're just about had it. They have had it. But then one of them sends me this unsolicited. If I can find it. Yeah. The Hawkeyes have trailed by at least 17 points in every Big Ten road trip for the last 2 seasons, or 11 straight games.
Wow.
And 8 of those games, they trailed by at least 20 points in 8 of those 17.
20.
I mean, it's same thing over and over again. That was horrible last night. I mean, it really was.
I couldn't watch it anymore.
It looks like a team completely unprepared. I mean,
that's exactly right.
They got back picked so many times. They scored 42 points, Purdue did, in the paint. In the paint. And I mean, it just, it was mind-boggling to me. Not only the defense, I still can't figure out their offense. You know, they have no point guard. I'm sorry. I've said it. It's just, you wanted me to real point guard, Carson Edwards for Purdue. You put that point guard on a lot of teams. You put that guy on Iowa's team. They're a whole different ball club, unless Fran somehow screws him up.
Do you really think it's a question of lack of talent with the?
Well, I do. I think the talent's okay most of the way, but I think this is a team that, how do I say it? They don't have talent in the right place. They do not have a point guard, Mike. You know, these point guards are hard to find. I get all that. But you know what? Iowa, they're a Big Ten team. They can get a point guard. They can recruit. They're not a mid-major, and they have not recruited point guards. Are you kidding me? McCaffrey, his kid, no way. Bohannon, my hair doesn't move. Bohannon, no way. I mean, really, now listen, I don't know why they can't find. Now, I like Bohannon as far as his ability to shoot ball. That's a beautiful stroke.
Yeah,
absolutely gorgeous stroke. If he was playing, I'll tell you what, if he was playing across the river in Omaha, got to be averaging about 15 a game, because they will figure out he will be getting that ball where he can shoot it and not have to worry about other things. I mean, they will get the ball. Iowa, he doesn't get the ball where he needs to be to shoot it. Before the fourth quarter, Mike, he had very few shots. And I'm going, what are you doing with him? You've got to put him in a position to catch and shoot. And they don't.
Well, but we're talking Fran McCaffrey right now, so let's hear from the man himself. Here's Fran McCaffrey on Iowa's, how shall I say it, questionable defense against Purdue. Well, I thought we were going to have it, but we didn't. I didn't.
I thought that you had no explanation.
No.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
I got
He
nothing
doesn't have an
for you.
explanation. Well, maybe that would. Oh, here, God, I bet this is what I did wrong about. Yeah, okay, let me try to get.
Do it
Fran's,
so I can hear it,
All
too.
right, sure.
Thanks. Switches. We shouldn't have been switching. The stretch there where Nicholas was trying to guard everybody on the floor. And the way they're spaced and the stuff that Matt runs, it's too organized to trying to run around and stop everything. You gotta, if you mark a guy or two, that's one thing, and then you gotta stay solid everywhere else we were not.
Mike, the second 10 minutes of the first half, that's been a bugaboo in the past. Is this something that you're concerned about?
Well, I'm concerned about how we played in that stretch. There's no question, especially at the end of the half. We were there, and then they wanted to run, and we settled down, and then they went on a run at the end of the half to go up 17. You can't go on the road to Purdue and go down 17. It's going to make it really hard. We did it a couple of years ago, but that's rare. You're going to be able to come back from that kind of deficit with the team of this caliber. Did score the first 5 of the second half, held to 43% in the second half, which is decent. But 63% in the first half.
See, this is feeble. It's like he has no role in this. It says no, like he has
Want to
no
get paid faster?
He just has no role in the entire thing here.
Well, it's not near as bad as Steve Alford-esque.
That's right.
Alford,
Steve got shot out of a cannon this week, didn't he?
He did.
Finally in
Atlanta. Never. If you listen this year when he was interviewed, which is kind of the book on him, he never takes responsibility for anything. I mean,
he doesn't.
No, he doesn't. He had no self-awareness. He had no idea what it was that he was supposed to be doing. It's not him. He's doing things right. The kids aren't doing what he tells them to do. It was always
managing my inventory,
laying it on somebody else or something. And I don't know that, and I feel I don't mean to be so critical about Fran McCaffrey. But it's got to be frustrating for the Hawks. And I'm not a diehard. I mean, I like Iowa. I like Iowa State. I follow them, but those aren't my teams. But boy, and I don't know if Gary Barta has got the how does Patrick Ewing say it? The gonads or something. Anyway,
cojones.
The cojones to cut Fran McCaffrey loose. I feel like Fran McCaffrey, if he goes 500 or does just wins his home games in the Big Ten, he'll get another year regardless, because I think this whole group of kids he recruited, they're all going to be back again next year. And so I think he'll get another year regardless. And then what happens after that, I don't know. But look at that non-conference schedule, Mike. Sorry.
Before we move away from this, you mentioned Jordan Bohannon, and he's a top shooter. Here's a clip from Jordan Bohannon on self-doubt.
Yeah, I've been struggling with my confidence, and that's something I never thought.
Yeah.
Ever since I started playing basketball, that I have a struggle with that, and but I mean, playing Division I basketball at a high level, my brother's told me, Zach's been telling me a lot that there's going to be a time where you're going to doubt yourself. And I thought that year, I thought it would be last year. I think I kept my confidence as much as it was hard to. It was frustrating last year, but I never really had that period where I just doubted myself completely. And I think I was going through that these last couple of games where I just wasn't myself. And Coach McCaffrey has done a great job of keeping my confidence. And I mean, all my teammates just said to shoot the ball tonight, and that's what I did.
See, when you have a record like this and you have performances like this, to have the kids blaming themselves, I get that. But really, you have to be a coach to talk your players through things like this. A season like this, a couple of years like Bohannon has had. My point is that Bohannon at the end of 3 years, or in his third year, is doubting himself because the team is failing. And he has, as you noted, a real strong shot, and he's a solid player. And now he's doubting himself. That's the coaching staff failing to motivate their kids, failing to take responsibility. Period. End of story.
They're playing Bohannon out of position. I'm sorry. He's not a point guard. He should be at the 2 guard. They should be running him off the picks, they ball screens, you name it. But he should not have the ball in his hands up the floor. He is a 2 guard. That's why he should have been recruited. That's his position. Iowa has not recruited, or certainly hasn't trotted out, a point guard in years. You have got to, they just haven't. And McCaffrey's kid is not the answer. I kid you not. Watching him this year, I'm sorry. I don't think he handles it particularly well. He's not particularly quick. He's a good free throw shooter. But I'm sorry. Doesn't shoot it. I don't see it. He is not a point guard. They need a point guard.
Nevin, a few times in life, I was a good free throw shooter. That doesn't mean I should be playing Division I basketball.
No, but
it just means I sat in the driveway for years and shot free throws.
Well, no, but listen, you need to do it all at Division I, including make free throws.
That's
free
right.
throws is a very important part of the game. You lose ball games when you can't knock down free throws. And but that's not the issue
I understand.
here at all.
You understand what I'm saying.
I do. That is not the issue here. I don't understand, and I don't understand how he recruits, because I feel as though he's recruiting players that forces a lot of these guys to try and do things that they are not good at doing. They're good D1 players, but they're being played out of position. And we have a lot of the same kind of ball player. We got all these, long, tall, not necessarily real athletic kids other than Cook. He's very athletic, but you know what? I'm sorry, Mike. I would do everything in my power to stay away from him and make him shoot a 10-foot jump shot all day long, because when he gets down on the block, you cannot stop him with the ball in his hands. I mean, he's a ferocious dunker.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez, he's got a quick first step, and he gets up high and he gets up quick.
Mm-hmm.
That's where he belongs. But if you put him out there and you give him the ball and you tell him, hey, let's try to drive it to the rim or pull up and shoot a jumper, I really don't think that's what he's meant to be doing. I don't think, and the whole team seems like that. Weisman, boy, great looking shot. But what's the difference between Weisman and Bear and McCaffrey? I mean, I can go on and on. They're all the same kind of player. I mean, really.
That's because they've been coached that way. I mean,
that's the kind of player they are. That we've recruited the same kind of player.
Wasn't it 2 years ago we were sitting here talking about the University of Iowa basketball team was on the precipice of great things?
And I was the biggest advocate.
Yes, you were.
And I so missed this boat. I was so wrong.
But everybody did.
Well, I don't know, but I was outspoken about it. I really thought they had it going. I really did. I mean, the players they're recruiting are good players. They're Wieskamp. Everybody wanted that kid. I mean, these are kids that are highly sought after, but I don't understand the method to the madness with Fran. It seems like he recruits the same type of player, and we're trying to play this one player at all these different positions. They're only, they're a 3 or, a weak side forward. I don't. It just doesn't seem to make sense to me. And every time I watch them, especially on the road, this team is horrible on the road. I mean, in all facets.
17 points.
Yeah, I mean those stats, which I did not know until somebody texted that to me today. That was stunning to me.
No, I just have lost interest in watching the Cyclones, or not Cyclones, but the
Hawks.
Yeah, I still do enjoy watching the Clones. I haven't seen them often this year.
Well, they played Oklahoma State this week in front of about 12 people down at Stillwater.
That was weird, wasn't it?
Oh no, listen, basketball south of the Mason-Dixon line. I have talked about this forever. I don't understand why kids that are really good basketball players want to go play at these schools south of the, in the South. Frankly, I use the Mason-Dixon line, but Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, yeah, they turn out and you'll get good crowds if they're really killing it and they don't have anything else going on. But like Oklahoma State this week and Iowa State, it was like a scrimmage, Mike. There was nobody there. And I know the students are on break. I get that, but it was horrible. And you'll see that even at Texas and most of these schools in the South. And boy, do I want to go there or do I want to go to Ames, Iowa and play basketball in front of, 13,000 nuts every night? I don't care if school's in or out,
Well, football's king in the South.
I know. And but why? Then, what my point is, these schools are able to recruit really well and get great players to come there to play basketball, and where it clearly is not king, where you can go north, you can go to Ames, play for Iowa State, and it's every bit as big as football, if not bigger. So you can go over to Omaha, Nebraska, play at Creighton and play in front of 17,005 every night, and it's cooking. That's what if I'm a basketball player, I want to go play where basketball is king. Okay.
I understand what you're saying, but the kids have also got to take their own self-interest. Maybe they look at a Michigan or some of the big schools up north and say, man, I'll never be able to start on that team, or it'll be tougher to crack that lineup.
Oh, I don't think that's why they end up at Oklahoma or Oklahoma State or Texas. These are guys. Buddy Hield went to Oklahoma. I can go on and on.
But where was Buddy Hield from?
Well, he was from the Bahamas.
Is that where he's from?
I think he was.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, but he was highly sought after, I believe. They get who they want most of the time.
Maybe I shouldn't have said Michigan. They were the top dogs of my youth in basketball.
Well, they're top dogs again, Mike.
I know. They're still a strong team. I think
they're one of the best teams in the country right now.
You think they are?
I do. I think they have one of the best coaches. I think they have one of the best teams. I think that's a team that can win it all this year. I do. I really like them.
Well, it would be good if we had somebody from the Big Ten do that. I'll tell you that.
Well, the Big Ten they're talking a good game. I'm not so sure when you got Iowa number 25 in the country.
How does that happen? I'm glad you brought that up. I saw that this morning when I was reading the sports section. 25? Is this a football team?
This, Mike, what do you think the line was yesterday on the game, the Purdue-Iowa game?
Oh, I was thinking that probably the Hawkeyes were favored to win by 7.
Purdue by 9.5 yesterday.
Purdue by 9.5.
Purdue. I saw that and I go, oh my God. Everybody would bet on Iowa.
That's what I was thinking.
And I thought that's the biggest sucker bet in the world. Purdue's going to roll the Hawks. I wish, I don't bet, but I thought I'd put the whole house on Purdue because that looked like such a sucker bet. And it was. The money knew what was going. Yeah. I was stunned at that betting line. Here's another one for you. I think Iowa State's going to be favored against Kansas tomorrow in Ames.
Iowa State's going to be favored again.
Shakaru?
Yeah, I can't even talk.
I know it.
Because you're a Kansas guy.
I am a Kansas guy, and the only reason I say that because I looked on ESPN today, and what ESPN, they don't have the line out yet, but they'll say, what's the percentage of this team winning the ball game? The chances they had Iowa State at about 60%.
Iowa State at
and
60%?
KU at 40% in the game. Yeah, I thought it was not a typo, but a mistake. But yeah,
you think that Iowa State's going to be Kansas?
Well, I do think that Kansas is vulnerable, and I do think
Not the question there, Mr. Nevin, is Iowa State going to beat Kansas in your estimation?
No.
Yes, let's go to the phones. All right,
I don't know how many times you got guys on the radio that need to be drug tested. I mean, you had a guy come up there and said, Iowa State's going to win 9 football games. Well, Iowa State's not going to beat Kansas.
I tell you what, I don't know about that. I really don't. I mean, I think Kansas, and I'm a Kansas guy, but they can be had. Iowa State has the talent and the depth this year to have them, and the venue. That's a tough place to play.
Yeah,
well,
and
I mean, I've been in that arena a lot of times, and that it's going to be a elevated group, and I mean, they're going to be stoked. But I'm just saying, I mean, you had a guy on there back in August say that Iowa State's going to win 9 football games.
Well, that was Randy.
Yeah, Randy down there, down the hill.
Well, Randy will be in here at 4 o'clock. You can call up and argue with him.
No, I'm not going to argue.
Well, but Iowa State had a poor start in football, but I thought after that they fulfilled expectations. Don't you think?
Oh, I would say they came back a long ways, and I mean, I didn't take salt out and rub it in Randy's wounds. I mean, I stayed away from it.
You were gentle.
But I would say Kansas. What are they? Are they first in the country?
Number 5.
Okay.
All right, you call. I'm going to put you on the spot here. You call the game tonight. Is it tonight?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Okay. Iowa State, Kansas.
4 o'clock.
What is it?
4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
Okay. Who's going to take it and by how much? What's your line on the Kansas Iowa State game?
Oh, my God.
Oh, now you don't want to commit, huh? Sure.
Okay, I'll throw some stuff out there, and I would say Kansas by about 7.
Kansas by 7. Okay. Now,
I mean, I'm just saying that Iowa State's got too many young players.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll remember that. We'll be here next Friday.
No, you won't remember. I know you.
Yeah, we will.
We'll remember that.
Here,
I mean, Nevin knows this. You're not going to remember.
Well, no, that I'll remember.
And you know what? I'm going to take Iowa State.
Okay.
I like Iowa State by about 3.
So there you go. Now, if Kansas does win tonight, you definitely are going to call
tomorrow night. And
or tomorrow night.
I hope I'm wrong,
Yeah.
but I know what you're saying about the young players.
Tomorrow night, so
but
we're not going to talk.
No. Next Friday. We'll be here next Friday.
The other thing you got, and to me, KU is a whole new group of players other than Vic. They're all new, and they're pretty young too, and they haven't played. I'm trying to think. Have they played? Yeah, the one road game they played was at Arizona State, and they got beat. So that I'm thinking that may be the equalizer here, having to go up in Ames and play in that environment.
Well, let's face it, Danny Manning played in Iowa Ames, and he never won one game.
Danny Manning?
Danny Manning,
Going way back.
That is going back.
And the coach.
You got to turn down your radio, buddy.
For being, not best behavior. And he never won a game in Ames either. I mean, just.
Okay, we're gonna have to go. All right, but yeah, you call back.
Good call.
You call back next Friday. Now we'll have you checked out on that one. So he's taking Kansas, and Nevin, surprisingly enough to me, is taking Iowa State. We're losing Joe Shanks. What happened there?
Well, Joe has not been in the system for a couple of years, so he's been out in the private sector. So yeah, he's going.
Oh, he left St. Edmund. I thought he was still at St. Edmund. No. All right, good enough. All right, we're talking sports here. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
You don't have bad luck. The reason that bad things happen to you is because you're a dumbass.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
All right, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge 234. 47 degrees. We're actually hot in this studio here today. We have the temperature cranked up like it's 20 below outside, and actually it's 48. News is coming up. We'll be back talking sports.
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
What are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
Well, what are you doing in my room?
I'm your sense of adventure. Don't you remember me? Don't you know that we miss you?
Miss me? Who misses me?
You know, all your friends in the forest. The trees, the pond, that little fort that you made out of branches. We all miss you.
Mom took me to the forest last year.
I'm a slug, Steven. It took me a long time to get here.
Oh, I guess that makes sense.
The forest is not that far away. Have an adventure today.
Bad things don't happen.
Take you.
You're right. I should get out. I want to have fun.
Bad
Play in
things
puddles,
don't happen.
catch frogs, and climb trees.
P&R Entry Doors.
John, Stephen, what is that in
And the American...
It's my sense of adventure, Mom. It's telling me we need to get out of
reason
the
that
house
bad-
and have some fun in nature today.
Come to the forest where the more adventurous you lives. Check out discovertheforest.org for cool places nearby. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
47.
I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's premier home purchase lender. We've created a new way to protect you from unpredictable interest rates. Our exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, we lock your interest rate for up to 90 days. Then, if rates go up, your rate stays locked. But if rates go down, your rate drops. Either way, you win. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With us, look at local news from the newsroom. I'm Bob Fisher reporting. A candle has been pinpointed as the cause of a fire at a downtown Fort Dodge apartment complex yesterday. The Fort Dodge Fire Department tells us that they were called to the Biltwell Apartments at 106 North 10th Street shortly before 7 a.m. after a fire broke out in one of the apartments on the 6th floor. Firefighters were quickly able to control the blaze, but were on the scene for about 5 hours. One of the 6 people injured was taken to the hospital to be treated for smoke inhalation. The fire destroyed the apartment on the northeastern quarter of the 6th floor and caused heat and smoke damage throughout the rest of that floor. Firefighters determined that the fire was started by an unattended candle in a bedroom. During the late stages of the 2018 campaign, Republican Governor Kim Reynolds proposed letting Iowa women buy the pill without a prescription. She plans to press the 2019 legislature to pass a bill that would make birth control pills available in Iowa without a doctor's prescription.
This is another opportunity for us to have bipartisan support in something that makes sense.
In 2016, Democrats in the Iowa Senate passed a bill to make the policy in Iowa, but Republicans in the House tabled the proposal. Republican House Speaker Linda Upmeyer of Clear Lake says not all birth control pills are alike, and legislators will have to seek input from the medical community.
There are reasons that a physician would prescribe one over another. If someone has a predisposition to breast cancer, you want to make sure you're paying attention to your estrogen levels. Maybe there is one that is incredibly safe that people could agree to put on the shelf. I don't think we're opposed to that, but I do think we want to make sure it's safe for Iowans to have that access.
Democrats strongly criticized Reynolds for signing a bill last May to ban nearly all abortions, and Senate Democratic leader Janet Peterson of Des Moines says they're skeptical of this proposal too.
Iowa is in a really sad state as far as women's health care goes. It's getting harder and harder for women to find places and providers to get family planning services.
Peterson says many women want more effective long-term contraceptives rather than birth control pills, and the Republican effort to defund Planned Parenthood clinics has reduced access to those long-term options, especially in rural areas. The outline Governor Reynolds sketched during the campaign called for keeping birth control pills behind the pharmacy counter and letting women buy them without a prescription. Her proposal did not cover other birth control options. Iowans who raise money for nonprofits and foundations are facing new challenges in the new year as a new federal tax law is raising concerns. Stacey Palmer is editor of the Chronicle of Philanthropy and says overall charitable contributions have been rising from low-income earners and those on the high end.
Middle-income people give in a lot of different ways, but that's where the biggest drop in the share of people who are giving is coming. And so people are really starting to raise questions about how can you persuade those people to start giving again or giving more.
That fall in donations from middle-income earners is a problem, she says, because nonprofits need a broad base of support for stability and growth. Also, Palmer says charities are worried donations will decrease by millions of dollars because of the new tax law. And an unusually warm weekend is ahead for Iowans, with forecasters calling for highs in the mid-40s to mid-50s. For some cities, that's 25 degrees above normal. State climatologist Justin Glisson says it's a continuation of the weather we had during December, which averaged about 5 degrees warmer than the normal statewide. Glisson says it was a wetter month, too.
Statewide precipitation averaged about 2.09 inches, and that's about 3/4 of an inch above normal. And most of that precipitation fell as rainfall, not snow. In terms of snowfall itself, we were much below average, around 3 inches on the ground statewide, and typically we see about 8 inches.
Some Iowans have not even fired up their snow blowers yet, or have they had to toss one shovel of snow. Looking ahead, Glisson says they'll likely remain warmer and wetter for several more days.
Getting into the first full week of January into the second week, we're slated to have temperatures well above average, which we don't see that typically in January. On the flip side of that, we do have an increased probability of precipitation over that time period.
Any precipitation that does fall over the upcoming 10 days or so will likely come down as rain, he says, and not as snow. And that's a look at local news from the newsroom. I'm Bob Fisher reporting.
Thank you, Bob. AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge 240. In the weather, first of all, 48 degrees. I'll tell you, we're one day closer to spring with this sort of weather, and I'm loving it all the way. Sunny today, high maybe 50 before 5 o'clock this afternoon. Overnight, mostly clear with a low of 29 on Saturday, sunny with a high of 50 once again. Sunday, cloudy with a high of 40 on Monday, partly sunny with a high of 44. Tuesday, sunny with a high of 41. Wednesday, sunny with a high of 39. Thursday, partly sunny with a high of 42. So the lowest temperature in the next week we're expecting is 41 degrees. For this time of year, not bad. 48 degrees right now at AM 1400 KVFD. Obituaries this hour brought to us by Gunderson Funeral Home. Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Norma Lundgren has passed away. Norma Lundgren has died. Services for Ms. Lundgren will be tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock at Trinity United Methodist Church with Gunderson Funeral Home serving the family. Vicki Deal has died. Vicki Deal's service is tomorrow morning at 11 at Corpus Christi Catholic Church here in town. Visitation tomorrow from 9 to 11 at Corpus Christi Catholic Church. That's for Vicki Deal. Obituaries this hour brought to us by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge 242.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. March corn up 3 1/4 at 3.83. May up 3 1/2 at 3.91. July corn up 3 1/2 at 3.98 1/4. September up 2 3/4 at 3.99 3/4. January soybeans up 9 1/4 at 9.09 1/2. March up 8 3/4 at 9.21 1/2. May beans up 9 cents at 9.34 1/2. July up 8 3/4 at 9.46. March wheat closed up 3 1/4 at 5.17. Soybean meal up 2.40 a ton at 3.15.10. February live cattle down 1.30 at 121.92. April down 1.40 at 1.24. January feeder cattle down 1.62 at 1.44.90. March down 1.62 at 1.42.82. February lean hogs down 20 cents at 61.95, and April down 67 cents at 66.75. I'm Dwayne Murley.
Hey guys, good news. The outrageously expensive Little Blue pill is now generic, which means you can get the prescription medication to treat ED at affordable prices. And Hims makes it
Out here, great yield starts with great weed control. That's why I put the Roundup Ready Extend crop system to work, so I can get the yield I need. This is my field.
The Roundup Ready Extend crop system offers the unique combination of XtendiMax herbicide with Vapor Grip technology and Roundup Ready 2 Extend soybeans soybeans, featuring tolerance to both dicamba and glyphosate for control of more weeds than any other soybean system, and a 5.7 bushel per acre advantage compared to Liberty Link soybeans in herbicide system trials. Now you have the system that puts control back in your hands. You have the system to extend your weed control and extend your yield. Learn how you can put the system to work in your field when you visit RoundupReadyExtend.com. XtendiMax is a restricted use pesticide. Performance may vary. Always read and follow grain marketing and all other stewardship practices and pesticide label directions. Check local regulations for specific requirements in your state.
Out here, great yield starts with great weed control. That's why I put the Roundup Ready Extend crop system to work, so I can get the yield I need. This is my field.
The Roundup Ready Extend crop system offers the unique combination of XtendiMax herbicide with Vapor Grip technology and Roundup Ready 2 Extend soybeans, featuring tolerance to both dicamba and glyphosate for control of more weeds than any other soybean system, and a 5.7 bushel per acre advantage compared to Liberty Link soybeans in herbicide system trials. Now you have the system that puts control back in your hands. You have the system to extend your weed control and extend your yield. Learn how you can put the system to work in your field when you visit RoundupReadyExtend.com. XtendiMax is a restricted use pesticide. Performance may vary. Always read and follow grain marketing and all other stewardship practices and pesticide label directions. Check local regulations for specific requirements in your state.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
Shut up! Shut up and take the pain. Take the pain!
Michael Devine and Nevin Mulholland talking sports on AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. Shut up and take the pain. Take the pain. AM 1400.
You Hawkeye fans.
That's right. I will tell you that, and we haven't talked about this. By the time we get on the air after, it's been a few days after the Outback Bowl, and
well, there's a positive.
There really was. I was watching the Hawkeyes, and they had that 2 turnovers right in the middle of the game, 14-point turnaround. And I'm just cussing. I'm going, here I get into my Kirk Ferentz spiel again. What are we paying him? Why have we kept him around so long? And by God, if he didn't bring him back.
Well, I don't know if Kirk brought him back, but they listen.
Hey, listen, if we're going to hold it, if I'm going to talk with Fran McCaffrey and say this is coaching, then I'm going to have to give Kirk Ferentz a little credit for keeping his team focused and not letting them give up.
Well,
we heard from Jordan Bohannon a little while ago. Here he is 3 years into a decent career at the University of Iowa, and he's having self-doubt like he's going to give up. I didn't see that with Ferentz's boys.
No, I tell you, the defense was terrific. Iowa was so lucky. They really, really were.
And they were unlucky too, though. They were unlucky.
Well, how so?
Come on.
Not unlucky. They created the
they made mistakes.
Yeah, they made big mistakes. Yet the defense hung in there and made plays. I'll give you that. But Mississippi State drops that touchdown pass in the end zone and it ends up being an interception.
Right.
I mean, holy moly, is that? It doesn't get much better than that.
That's the fortunes of war.
Yeah, no, I'll take it.
Right.
It was a game that I really never thought the Hawks would win. And frankly, but for Mississippi State making just as many mistakes as the Hawks, I mean, we made a couple huge ones. They made just one more than we did. And so we were able to win that game. But that defense of Mississippi State's a real deal.
Yeah.
Real deal.
Well, we turned out to be a better team, though. If it's don't make faces at me. I think University of Iowa, and there was this big old redneck boy on social media. He took he looked like a former high school player in his late 30s, and he's going, I can't believe we just got beat by the slowest, whitest team in the Big Ten. How'd that happen? I'll tell you how it happened, because we suck. And he's on and on and on.
Oh, right. I didn't see it. That's I mean, if I'm a Mississippi State fan, I'm pretty upset about losing that game.
I don't know.
Just about as upset as the Cyclones fans were about losing their game. Now, Mike, you would admit, would you not? Didn't you think Iowa State was the better team in that ball game?
I did. And you want to talk about some tough breaks. I mean, especially.
Yeah, they had. It just doesn't.
That targeting rule needs some work. That targeting rule.
The second one was horrible.
The second one was just.
The first one was well deserved.
Technically correct. The first one was a mistake. but it was deserved. They had to call it. I don't think. Did you think that first one was intentional? Because I don't.
I don't know. It was a dumb play. You don't.
It was, okay.
He didn't need to lower his head at all. The guy was going down. Stay upright. Use your shoulder. Come on. He just lit that quarterback up. That was Harvey. And they needed him. He's a good ball player. That was a tough loss for Iowa State to lose
But the second one,
totally agree. No argument for me.
Technically, as the announcer said, they were the
I don't even
officials.
know technically. I questioned the whole technical part too. I watched that a number of times. I just didn't even think it was. Period. End of story.
Well, this has nothing to do with sports, ladies and gentlemen, but just to get Nevin to hop a little bit, this is breaking news. United States Appeals Court has ruled in favor of Donald Trump's transgender military ban. So there you go. It's the end of civilization as we know it. We cannot have transgenders in the military. But as someone who was in the military, believe me, we had all kinds of people in the military.
Yeah.
Gays, guys who like to dress up as women. We had all kinds of folks.
I mean, we can go all the way back to Cali. I'll think of it.
Well, my dad was in the U.S. Marine Corps, and he was always proud of his Marine Corps service, and he was part of the island hopping campaign. And the Marines just did their courage. They were rightfully recognized for their great courage, and we always looked to them as the ultimate men. But my dad said, you get a bunch of young guys overseas, and he said, I can tell you this from experience, son. You get a bunch of young men like that overseas with no women, there's going to be a little homosexuality going on every now and then. And he said, even among the United States Marines, I mean, it was circumstances. Maybe they did things that they wouldn't ordinarily do, but they were in extraordinary times. My God, they were out on Iwo Jima, which is nothing more than a big volcanic rock.
Right.
And
no, it'd be horrible.
Horrible.
They went through Guadalcanal.
Oh, yeah, all of that.
All those islands.
My dad always talked about Peleliu and what a terrible thing those Peleliu Islands were. And I looked into it, and it has to be one of the most underappreciated, terrible battles in history, the Peleliu Island campaign that the United States Marines conducted. But anyway, the point is, we've always had gay people and transgender people in the military. We always will. Yeah. We always will.
Yeah, I mean, no argument.
Anyway,
I think you're right. It's a very diverse group.
It is
because there's so many.
I'll tell you, for a young kid,
so many men.
For an 18, 19-year-old kid from Algona, Iowa, to meet some of the folks I did. I didn't care for the military particularly, but there were some characters there. It was worth it was worth the experience. Let me just put it that way. But anyway, we're talking helmet to helmet combat. I just saw that pop up here in my news feed here. We're talking to helmet combat. So let me see if I have your position correct here then. The Hawkeyes really didn't deserve to win. You don't think they did?
Well, I thought, listen, I hate to put that, but no, I think the Hawks got lucky. All right. At the end of the day, and I'm all for it. And you know what? That was an entertaining game.
It was.
It was as good as Mississippi State's defense was, and the Hawks defense was just as good. Frankly, it was really entertaining. The turnovers and the dramatic shifts in momentum back and forth. Mm-hmm. It was a fun game to watch.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, we can be unlucky too. You remember last year?
More times than not.
Oh God, yes. That I still, there's just certain things that stick in my mind. Last year's game against Penn State. Now Penn State had Saquon Barkley and a stud quarterback, and we were beating them all day.
I know.
And we lost on the last play of the game. That's unlucky. That is just unlucky.
I don't know if it was unlucky, but that's the MO on Iowa. Iowa plays it so close to the vest. They don't blow a lot of teams out. They don't intend to. They play on the basis that we'll make fewer mistakes than you do.
Cautious Kirk.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we're not going to beat ourselves usually. Well, they kind of went against that in the Mississippi State game. They had 2 horrible turnovers. I mean, we got this game. I'm thinking, hey, there's no way Mississippi State at halftime, I'm thinking, can beat Iowa, because I've got a lot of confidence in Iowa's offense and our defense, and I'm terribly unimpressed with Mississippi State's offense. And I thought, geez, just, let's not do anything stupid here. We ought to be good. Well, we do something really stupid 2 times in a row.
Let's go to the phones. AM 1400 KVFT. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Howdy. I'm not a Hawkeye fan, but when the Hawkeyes win a big game, Kirk Ferentz seems to be the greatest coach in the history of coaching any sport, and when he loses, he's the biggest moron.
Not me, man. I've been pretty.
I've never understood that with Hawkeye fans.
Oh, that's just the way it is, I guess. But
Yeah.
I've never really, you know, and I've told Nevin over the years he's been on this show and we've been talking sports. I always struggle with this because Kirk Ferentz is definitely a nice man. I've met him on several occasions. I mean, as a member of the media, but he, you know, and what am I, a major media figure in the state? Yeah, major. And he recognizes me and he stops and he gives me all the time that I need. And I always appreciate, you know, he doesn't have to do that. I mean, and he's always very, very polite and friendly, and he has an easygoing manner about him. But I just don't like his style of coaching. You know, he's too cautious for me. He's an old style coach where execution. Nevin alluded to it a little bit more. We're going to make fewer mistakes than you do, and we're going to drill until we get this down. And I understand all that, but I really think, Kirk's 65 years old. It's, you know, the times are passing him by, I think.
But let me say this about that, is that Kirk Ferentz in the last number of years is taking more risks than most coaches take during a ball game. And he did it in the Mississippi State game, and it paid dividends for him. 4th down, instead of kicking the field goal,
That's
Mike.
right.
And he has been known to do that now for the 2nd or 3rd year in a row. He's not adverse to going for a 1st down and discarding the field goal.
Well, you know, there was a major revolt during that Tax Slayer Bowl a few years.
Yeah, well, I think that was the coup d'etat.
Well, I mean, he was running in Jake Rudock and C.J. Beathard on every other set of downs, and they lost, and it was a terrible game, sloppy game. And even Ferentz fans were beginning to say, well, maybe it's time Kirk retired or we did something else. But he came out swinging the next year, and he's been swinging every year since, I think. I think that year, 2015, 14, 15, whatever it was, it changed him.
Reinvented himself a little bit as far as his approach to the game time decisions. Not so much his approach to the game because he's still running the pro style offense.
Oh, yeah.
But as you pointed out a couple weeks ago, he's going to change the style of defense that they're running. They're going to go to more of a modern type defense that we see now. But he's still his approach. Yeah, but he does, man. He's takes a lot of risks.
He does, but he executes them a lot of times too.
It's work.
It is.
It's been a good strategy because they're good at successfully executing 4th down plays.
Let's go back to the phones. What's your first name, sir?
Aaron over in Webster City.
Aaron over in Webster City. Let me ask you a question. Do you think Kirk Ferentz has been worth the investment the University of Iowa has made in him?
Well, I don't know. Is anybody worth what they make? I don't know.
I'm worth more, personally.
It just seems like Hawkeye fans. I mean, like I said, he's the greatest coach or manager in the history of sports. And then when the Hawks win, but when they lose, he's the biggest dunce in the world. it's never, you know what? I've never understood Iowa fans like that. I mean,
are you an Iowa State fan, or where are you at?
Yeah, I'm a Cyclone.
Yeah, you a Cyclone guy. How do you think Campbell's been and Prohm both?
Yeah, I think they're good coaches. I
think they're solid guys.
The thing with Iowa State and Iowa is you're going to have a few good years in a row in sports, but then you're going to have some down years. You don't get the athletes year in and year out like
except if you're Nick Saban.
Well, that's different.
That's a high bar. But your point about coaches, I don't think
Iowa and Iowa State will never be what Alabama is.
Yeah.
No, it won't.
You have to, admit that.
You ever been to Alabama?
I drove through there.
I've driven all over that state. It's not an exceptional state in my mind. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Alabama, certainly. The university there is a great campus. From what I understand, the facilities the athletes have is just terrific, top of the nation. But it's not a major metropolitan area. It's not a Los Angeles or Chicago or New York, where you would think that you would have a really high profile program. It's just a southern state without
I think it's unparalleled the amount of money they put in their program to just about any other program in the country, though.
It is.
And it's so important to them. And, of course, they recruit nationally. And
yeah, they do.
I want to follow up, though, on your comment about coaches. And I think that's true of most fans that you're only as good as your last win or loss.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I hear it. I'm a Creighton guy, boy. I tell you what, one day McDermott's terrific. The next day he's a dog. And I mean, I think most fans are like that. Now, saying that, I think right now Matt Campbell can do no wrong. And I think, and I do think the future is extremely bright for Iowa State.
Oh, yeah, it is.
And I think everybody, that's one guy that right now, well, I look at this bowl game. That's a tough loss for Iowa State, but they would never lay that on Campbell in any way, shape, or form. And maybe you could make
All right. We're going to have to
Well,
wrap it up.
and one thing we all got to remember about college sports is a bunch of 18 and 19-year-olds.
That's right. Exactly. Hey,
You
thanks.
know,
For,
we get to.
thank you for your call. We're going to have to go. I'm sorry. We're going to have to go.
Good call.
Just real quickly here, Nevin. Hoiberg going to UCLA. What do you think?
I say no.
All right.
I say no. I don't think it's a fit for him. I know everybody loves it. That's the big rumor right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to go back into college. And I think that's such a dramatic move for him to go to the West Coast in L.A.
He's not going to go. I don't think he's going.
You're not either.
When he left Iowa State, he said one of the reasons he left was he didn't want to recruit anymore.
I know.
It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Thank you, Nevin Mulholland. This is KVFT Fort Dodge, Iowa.
This is a Fox News alert. A rally this time on Wall Street. The Dow up 742 points at the closing bell, driven in part by the Fed chief and the jobs report. More on the rally in a moment. I'm Lisa Brady. But first, the latest on the shutdown showdown as top lawmakers hold their second meeting this week with President Trump. There's still no deal on the main sticking point, border security funding. Fox's John Decker live at the White House.
The president in the Rose Garden saying his meeting with congressional leaders from both parties went well.
I thought really a very, very good meeting.
It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
We're all on the same path in terms of wanting to get government open.
But Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer had a different take.
So we told the president we needed the government open. He resisted. In fact, he said he'd keep the government closed for a very long period of time, months or even years.
With the partial government shutdown now in day 14, both sides agreed to keep talking. Lisa?
Thanks, John. Weekend negotiations are being planned. The president sending Vice President Mike Pence to those meetings. During his Rose Garden remarks, the president also hailing the latest jobs report, stronger than expected for December, with 312,000 jobs created.
This really took people by surprise. This is a great number. I think it has a lot to do with the factories and with the companies that are moving back into the United States who have left, and now they're coming back to us.
But Wall Street also likes these reassuring words from the Fed chief.
We will be patient as we watch to see how the economy evolves. But we're always prepared to shift the stance of policy and to shift it significantly.
Jay Powell taking questions at an event in Georgia and emphasizing there is no preset policy on interest rate hikes. This is Fox News.
I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's premier home purchase lender. Today's fluctuating interest rates can leave you with unexpected higher mortgage payments. At Quicken Loans, we've created a new way to protect you from unpredictable interest rates so you can buy a home with certainty. It's called Rate Shield, and here's how it works. With Rate Shield, you can lock your interest rate while you shop for a new home. So if rates go up, you don't have to worry. And here's the best part. If rates go down, you get the lower rate. With Rate Shield, we really have you covered. Here are more reasons why you'll want to work with America's largest mortgage lender. For 9 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the 5th year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. Rate Shield, another way we can save you money on your mortgage. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Based on Rocket Mortgage data in comparison to public data records. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply.
5 children on their way to Disney World are among the dead in the crash on a Florida highway yesterday that remains under investigation. Multiple vehicles, including 2 big rigs, involved.
This crash is being labeled a traffic homicide, which the Florida Highway Patrol tells me is routine policy for this type of crash because there were multiple deaths. One witness told reporters the big rigs exploded into a ball of flames just seconds after the crash. The big rigs burned so hot and fast the highway itself was damaged. damage from the intense flames. And now investigators are trying to piece together how it all happened.
Fox's Laura Ingle, 2 adults were also killed, the youngest victim just 8 years old. There's one congressional seat that remains empty for North Carolina as investigators probe ballot questions. The state has yet to certify election night results from the midterms that show a hairline Republican win.
Complaints of ballot fraud have stained the victory of Republican Mark Harris in the North Carolina 9th Congressional District. A campaign consultant is accused of absentee ballot harvesting. Harris wants a judge to certify that he won by fewer than 1,000 votes.
So again, our goal is to get certified by the state of North Carolina. And we're in the process of doing that. And without a state board of elections, we are doing that through the courts.
A judge dissolved the state elections board. A new one won't convene until the end of the month. House Democratic leaders in D.C. won't seat Harris until the election is certified. Eben Brown, Fox News.
The search for a suspect continues on the campus of the Mississippi University for Women in Columbus, Mississippi. After university officials say one person was shot, still no word on who that victim is or what their condition is. But there is, again, a search underway for a suspect, and there has been a lockdown on that campus ever since those reports surfaced. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With us, look at local news for the newsroom. I'm Bob Fisher reporting. A candle has been pinpointed as the cause of a fire at a downtown Fort Dodge apartment complex yesterday. The Fort Dodge Fire Department tells us that they were called to the Biltwell Apartments at 106 North 10th Street shortly before 7 a.m. after a fire broke out in one of the apartments on the 6th floor. Firefighters were quickly able to control the blaze, but were on the scene for about 5 hours. One of the 6 people injured was taken to the hospital and treated for smoke inhalation. The fire destroyed the apartment on the northeastern quarter of the 6th floor and caused heat and smoke damage throughout the rest of that floor. Firefighters determined that the fire was started by an unattended candle in a bedroom. During the late stages of the 2018 campaign, Republican Governor Kim Reynolds proposed letting Iowa women buy the pill without a prescription. She plans to press the 2019 legislature to pass a bill that would make birth control pills available in Iowa without a doctor's prescription.
This is another opportunity for us to have bipartisan support in something that makes sense.
In 2016, Democrats in the Iowa Senate passed a bill to make the policy in Iowa, but Republicans in the House tabled the proposal. Republican House Speaker Linda Upmeyer of Clear Lake says not all birth control pills are alike, and legislators will have to seek input from the medical community.
There are reasons that a physician would prescribe one over another. If someone has a predisposition to breast cancer, you want to make sure you're paying attention to your estrogen levels. Maybe there is one that is incredibly safe that people could agree to put on the shelf. I don't think we're opposed to that, but I do think we want to make sure it's safe for Iowans to have that access.
Democrats strongly criticized Reynolds for signing a bill last May to ban nearly all abortions, and Senate Democratic leader Janet Peterson of Des Moines says they're skeptical of this proposal too.
Iowa is in a really sad state as far as women's health care goes. It's getting harder and harder for women to find places and providers to get family planning services.
Peterson says many women want more effective long-term contraceptives rather than birth control pills, and the Republican effort to defund Planned Parenthood clinics has reduced access to those long-term options, especially in rural areas. The outline Governor Reynolds sketched during the campaign called for keeping birth control pills behind the pharmacy counter and letting women buy them without a prescription. Her proposal did not cover other birth control options. Iowans who raise money for nonprofits and foundations are facing new challenges in the new year as a new federal tax law is raising concerns. Stacey Palmer is editor of the Chronicle of Philanthropy and says overall charitable contributions have been rising from low-income earners and those on the high end.
Middle-income people give in a lot of different ways, but that's where the biggest drop in the share of people who are giving is coming. And so people are really starting to raise questions about how can you persuade those people to start giving again or giving more.
That fall in donations from middle-income earners is a problem, she says, because nonprofits need a broad base of support for stability and growth. Also, Palmer says charities are worried donations will decrease by millions of dollars because of the new tax law. And an unusually warm weekend is ahead for Iowans, with forecasters calling for highs in the mid-40s to mid-50s. For some cities, that's 25 degrees above normal. State climatologist Justin Glisson says it's a continuation of the weather we had during December, which averaged about 5 degrees warmer than the normal statewide. Glisson says it was a wetter month, too.
statewide precipitation averaged about 2.09 inches, and that's about 3/4 of an inch above normal. And most of that precipitation fell as rainfall, not snow. In terms of snowfall itself, we were much below average, around 3 inches on the ground statewide, and typically we see about 8 inches.
Some Iowans have not even fired up their snow blowers yet, or have they had to toss one shovel of snow? Looking ahead, Glisson says it'll likely remain warmer and wetter for several more days.
Getting into the first full week of January into the second week, we're slated to have temperatures well above average, which we don't see that typically in January. On the flip side of that, we do have an increased probability of precipitation over that time period.
Any precipitation that does fall over the upcoming 10 days or so will likely come down as rain, he says, and not as snow. And that's a look at local news from the newsroom. I'm Bob Fisher reporting.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Bright sunshine expected this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 48. Westerly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows dip down to about 29. Tonight, mainly clear skies. Tomorrow, 47. Highs around 40 Sunday under overcast skies. 44 Monday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 48.
What does building a better bank look like? It starts with building Capital One cafes, warm, inviting places that feel nothing like a typical bank, where you can open an account with no fees or minimums in 5 minutes. And you'll always find people ready to help you, not sell you. Welcome to Banking Reimagined. What's in your wallet?
For consumers only. Offered by Capital One and a member FDIC. Cafes available in select locations. Copyright 2018 Capital One.
Take the worry out of winter with a winter weather advisor on KVFD, brought to you by Community Health Center Fort Dodge, offering dental, behavioral health, and general medical assistance for men, women, and children. They're committed to your well-being. Community Health Center. Get to know them. And Creative Cakes, making life sweet with espresso, lunch, gourmet cupcakes, and other sweet treats. Creative Cakes in the Crossroads Mall, Fort Dodge. They make life sweet. Listen for the winter weather advisor on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD.
Even in my own home, I had my own designated space to smoke. If I think about it, it really was like I was punishing myself. A friend of mine said, why wouldn't you just try the Juul? And so I went out and I bought one. The idea of going back to smoking, I couldn't even imagine doing that. I don't think anyone, including myself, thought that I could switch.
Carolyn made the switch October 2016. Make the switch at JUUL.com. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Have the talk of the lifetime with the ones you love.
Grandma, this card asks, when did you get a TV and what was your favorite show?
I think around 1950, they had a Fort Dodge TV station that had a local barn dance show every Saturday night. Oh, honey, it was so much fun. They'd play instruments, we would sing and dance.
Sharing stories and memories with those who matter most isn't just important today, it will be especially significant when it's time to honor a life lived. Contact Gunderson Funeral Home to learn more about having the talk of a lifetime.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
You don't have bad luck. The reason that bad things happen to you is because you're a dumbass.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. We're on AM 1400 KVFD, 515-955-1400.
I am still living with your ghost.
I'm still living with your ghost, but you'll be gone soon. Joining me now, Senator Tim Kreinbrink and Representative. Are you a representative-elect?
Elect still 9 more days.
9 more days until Ann Meyer becomes actual representative. Well, hallelujah for that. so I can
one less word.
Well, one less word to you. Well, thank you both for coming in.
Thanks for the invitation.
You've both talked mental health training, so or mental health, the need for mental health in our state, and I say this because I read a letter to the editor in the Des Moines Register this morning from a man who equated gun safety class in schools that is being offered at the junior high level in some Iowa schools. He equated gun safety class in some junior high classes here in our state to mass murders in Newtown. Because people are familiar with guns, they will use them then to shoot a lot of kids. That was his logic. So I think we have an urgent need for mental health training or mental health treatment in the state of Iowa. We should check the registry for those who voted Democratic and force them to get mental health training, for God's sake. Who thinks of things like this?
You know what, Mike?
Gun safety class leads to mass murder.
A lot of people say that about you.
No. You know, actually, as you know,
not that the gun part, just that you need help.
No. I'm the doctor of truth.
Oh, that's right.
That's that's the problem. I mean,
the problem.
That's the problem. See, I tell the truth, I'm like Harry Truman. I just tell the truth, and everybody thinks it's hell. Give him hell, Harry. give him hell, Mike. So I just tell the truth, and everybody thinks it's hell. But can we? And your thing is going to be healthcare because of your background.
Yes.
If you ever get off the representative-elect thing, you've been representative-elect longer than anybody. So certainly you've been talking with people about healthcare. Have you been talking with people much about mental health care and what should be done in the state of Iowa?
That was primarily what I talked about with people at the doors when I was door knocking. I know I've said this before, but at least 90% of the people who are willing to stop and have a conversation, they have been affected in some way with the lack of mental health services in our area, whether it's a child, a spouse, parent, closely affected. And I just feel like if these people were willing to tell their story to me, someone they didn't know, how bad must they suffer? And that is something, again, I've said it before, but I'm committed to working on this problem, opening more services, opening acute services in our area.
And how would that be paid for, Ann?
Well, that is going to be an issue. But again, we spend a lot of money babysitting mental health patients right now, just in Trinity. I mean, when a mental health acute crisis patient comes into Trinity, they are housed in the emergency room or the ICU. And believe me, I've trained some of those nurses. They are fabulous nurses and they're great at what they do, but they're not mental health nurses. And those people sit there. They can sit there for 3 days. If there's not a bed for them available somewhere, they can be released.
Well, and also that's the most expensive part of the hospital to enter.
The emergency room?
Well, emergency room bed, ICU bed, that's very high cost.
Okay.
So our state's already paying for those, Mike, is what Ann's saying.
Yeah, I'm getting that part. There's a lot of people out there who are just crazier than hell because Donald Trump's president. Is there any immediate services we can offer them? Because they're running around out there screaming like their hair's on fire.
The other thing that Ann didn't mention is the transportation for us to get, our mentally ill people that are in crisis to a bed over in Black Hawk County, which is Waterloo. That's where our beds seem to be, in our district. So I think we're both pretty committed, meeting with county supervisors and other people that are in charge of this area of getting beds, treatment facilities right here in our community, which I think will be able to help, this whole region, our surrounding counties that are not only in the same region as us, but some that are in the Great Lakes region as well. I'm clowning around about this a little bit, but we do need mental health services. So I'll ask you, Tim. Ann tells us an idea of what we should do and what the need is. How are we going to pay for it? Well, and I've said that, when I talk with Mark Campbell and others, and Mark's fully aware of this, and I've mentioned it several times, even with Ann. Ann agrees with me as well. We need to do some type of analysis of how much money that our county right now budgets for these particular stays in the emergency room or ICU and travel with our deputy sheriffs or sheriffs involved, all the money that we're currently spending.
Or in the jails.
If we would concentrate that on our local area so that we don't have to spend it in those areas, a big chunk of that is probably already available. They probably already budget for this in our county budget. And so I think it's less than not coming up with additional funds. It's redirecting the funds that we're already paying to be more productive and more localized than how we're spending them now. That's, I would like to see that number first. Nobody can give us that number. And once we know what that number is and there's enough there to pay and have a facility, whether it's Trinity or whoever, at least be able to break even with these beds. If we don't know what that number is, maybe we have enough money already to pay for it more in a localized area. If we don't, then we have to come up with a plan to be able to fund it properly.
Do you think we can get this done this session?
I think we can make strides.
Tim, here's my concern.
Overall,
we
Mike,
have been talking this to death.
Overall, Mike, the state of Iowa is pretty happy with its mental health. Our region is 22 counties, and it's spread out from here up to Cerro Gordo County.
But we do have a problem.
All the way down to Blackhawk County.
That's right.
And whether it's our region is too big, it's not functioning properly, it's not providing services in areas where we need it. Maybe we have to fine tune some of those things, because overall, the region to the west of us that Calhoun County is part of, and Mike will say this because we've been at meetings over there, they are thoroughly happy with their region and how their mental health system is working over there. So how can we have such a discrepancy in 5 miles, from Webster County to Calhoun County? They're happy, we're not. So something's got to be able to be fixed there that we're just not paying attention to.
Well, I don't think we can afford to kick the can down the road
We
anymore.
can't.
I know you and Section would rather burn at the stake than raise taxes, and that's fine. I understand, but we do need to do something.
Well, let's
about
be
this.
accountable with what we're spending first.
I'm good with that. However it works out, but we should get something done this session.
If it comes back and says we need to spend more money there and everything was looked at, then I would say, yes, let's spend more money there. If we don't know and just throw money at a problem, how do you even measure if you got it fixed? I mean, it's the same with the water quality. Unless you have set parameters of what's going to happen when you spend this money, and if it doesn't happen, we're not going to do it again, then just by throwing money at it isn't going to fix the problem.
No, I'm not in favor of throwing money at anything. I mean, I don't think anybody is.
But raising taxes without an end game is kind of like that.
Well, that's true, Tim. But I don't think it's unreasonable to. We should be smart enough to figure it out this session.
We're elected, and you know that, and I know you agree totally. We're elected to give the services that are needed at the very cheapest, most effective way that we possibly can. That's why you elect us, and so we have that. We have that. We have to honor that to our voters.
That's right. And
so simply stated, find out what it costs now for no treatment, basically, and then all of the money that's not being spent on treatment, it's being spent to house and transport, and then take that money and use it.
Who's duplicating services? Who's not? Who's effective? Who's not? I mean, we need to find out all of this so that we can put a plan together that we can say we are making a great effort, the greatest effort we possibly can at the very most reasonable spending amount for the services that we offer. Once we find that out, then I'm not opposed to spending more money on it.
Well, I'm not even talking about spending more money. I'm talking about getting it done this session. That's a different thing.
I think we can.
I think
this is a situation, to my mind, that's been talked to death.
See, she's on that committee. I'm not. So
I know.
And in our caucus a few weeks ago, that was a main area of discussion. So and the people on our committee, I know a few of them, including myself, and I know that we're workers. We like to get things done. So I
was going to say, let's not turn into the Democrats who like to spend all day in session doing this, or the other thing, then wind up on the 6 o'clock news on KCCI. Well, we're doing things, but they won't let us.
And mental health,
politics.
Mental health, Mike, is a strange animal. I mean, it can pop its head up at the most weird times, and then it looks like nothing's wrong. I mean, it's just unpredictable, and it's just a scary, scary event, and we have to be prepared for it on the local level. We can't wait 2.5 hours to have the service. We need it.
You're right.
When we need it, we need it.
Yes, we do. So let's get it done.
Yep.
Shall we do it?
Yes.
You'll be hearing a lot from me about this ad.
I will be making sure that a lot is done then.
No.
So he's got that kind of he intimidates you that much.
No. I couldn't get anything done at the legislature in my best day. I'll swear to God. I can sit here and bark and bring up this is before Tim and Mike were, or before Tim was in office. But we had that terrible thing up at the Pomeroy Care Center, where the state was putting perverts in the rest homes in these little towns. And in this case, this guy repeatedly sexually abused older people and staff. And for 2 years, I went to Exit Issues, and I talked about it on the air for 2 years just to get a rule passed that would force care centers to at least tell the families of people who were in the care centers and the patients themselves that there was a pervert on the premises. Old Clell Bodler over there, Clell Bodler just wouldn't allow it because, as he said, well, a lot of our small town care centers, if they did that, people might not want to come there. You're right. They might not. Clell. So don't bring him in here.
He's smarter than you thought.
Yeah. I love that. Anyway, and Helen Miller, to her credit, she actually went down there and tried to do something about it. And there was just no interest, and that's because the healthcare lobby was so strong. And a lot of these small town healthcare centers are owned by attorneys in California and financial groups, and they don't want to hear that. There's two things they don't want to hear: increased regulation and a requirement to have more staff. They don't want to hear it. So we're still there. Which I think is kind of sad, but I'm just telling this rather long story now to show you how powerless I am. Completely powerless.
Well, we're wasting our time.
Yeah.
Let's go.
No, my only strength.
Our job is done here, Mike.
Yeah. He has been revealed to be powerless. I just don't want you two to be powerless. I don't want you two to be powerless. So if you feel strongly about these things, let's.
No.
Let me see you on the 6 o'clock news, saying those damn Democrats or my colleagues aren't allowing us to get this done because they're beholden.
I guarantee you this will be a bipartisan.
Absolutely.
You think so?
Oh, yes.
I think everyone's behind this.
If you get a good program put together and someone has the guts to vote against it, I would not want to be that person that votes against it.
Well, there's, there is a representative over in Calhoun County that'll vote against practically everything.
Watch out.
He shall be nameless.
Your phone's going to light up here pretty quick.
He's listening.
Yeah, we'll get a text. We'll get a text from him. Yeah, let's see. Okay. Oh, yeah, here it is. Don't raise taxes and keep your fat hands off the hogs. Okay.
That sounds like something.
That sounds like, that would. All right, there we go. So, what about hog confinements? There's going to be nothing there with as far as local.
A lot of the concerns that have been brought up, I feel, are kind of being addressed through the good neighbor policy.
Okay.
I feel a lot of the confinements that are being built today have technology on them that that Iowa State has worked hard on. And they are putting this stuff, Ann and I and Mike just went through, of course, I think we talked about that last week, went over to that SOW 7500 SOW unit over south of Storm
I wish
Lake.
you'd have given me a ring on that.
Unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. And the things that they're doing, they're just a couple miles south of Storm Lake.
Yeah.
And they're doing great things for the environment, but I don't think we did talk about. They have very humane treatment of their animals too. A lot of, probably 1/3 of the stuff they talked about that day was treating the animals well. So I was impressed by that.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I knew a lot of old farmers who didn't treat their animals very well. I mean, it was always.
Well, it wasn't too long ago that I think they outlawed the shockers, didn't they? So
it's
to
been
move them,
10 years.
Has it been 10 now?
Right about the time I was hauling hogs, they removed they took the shockers out of our hands. So I found something else to do because you cannot get those damn
Now be careful what you say.
You just cannot get those stubborn old sows off that semi. I'll tell you, they just are not going to do it. They're all comfortable there, and they're not getting off unless they get shocked. So we couldn't do it. So
Yeah.
I decided to get back into radio
And shock everybody that
shock
way.
everybody else. All right. Let's go to the phones here. Yeah, I was going to go to news break, but we can go to the phones. AM 1400 KVFD. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
I was just curious if the child custody reform was still alive, if that's going to be looked at this year.
Child custody reform still alive.
Well, one of the things, everything, because this is the new session now, every bill that comes in has to be new. There's a couple things that I would like to see worked on. One of them is a grandparents' rights law of some type. I don't know. I've talked to some of the judges, and I think the judges feel that, that's kind of in their hands. But yet there are situations out there where parents have lost a son or a daughter. And by doing that, then the in-law that has the children, in some cases, will cut them out of the grandkids' lives. And I would like to do something about that legally, so that if they are good grandparents and with, they have to be, it's no different than visitation on a divorce. I mean, you still have to treat the kids well and be good grandparents and have rights there to see their grandchildren. And the second one is the custody that you're talking about, is to make sure that that the custody between the husband and wife, whoever is fighting for additional custody or whatever, is equal and prudent and fair. And I think I've heard a lot of, one of the things Ann will hear a lot of stories that if you listen to one side of it, it isn't fair. And I think we have to listen to both sides and talk to the judicial system to see what we can do to put a bill into law that makes it more fair for custody and joint custody and those type of things. So to answer your question, it's not alive, but I think there will be bills that come forward that will make it alive again. And if you have any help or other states that you know of that have laws in place that are fair and prudent for custody cases, both Ann and I would probably be, and Mike would probably be willing to look at it and co-sponsor a bill like that if it's what we're looking for.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, sir. The Des Moines Register letters to the editor section is really something to behold sometimes. Here's a letter from a writer who tells us that Donald Trump enjoys chaos and he fears stability. He fears stability. What do you say to somebody like that? Yes, he's afraid of stability. Who's afraid of being stable, for God's
You
sake?
say that 2016 is over with.
Yeah, God, it just never has been for these folks. Anyway, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
You don't have bad luck. The reason that bad things happen to you is because you're a dumbass.
Michael Devine, the doctor of truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
I'm Michael Devine, and I fear stability. I really hate it when things are going along well. It's 3:32. The news is coming up. We'll be back with Senator Tim Kreinbrink and Representative-elect Ann Meyer at AM 1400 KVFD.
Every morning when I wake, I'm feeling so good.
Even in my own home, I had my own designated space to smoke. If I think about it, it really was like I was punishing myself. A friend of mine said, why wouldn't you just try the Juul? And so I went out and I bought one. The idea of going back to smoking, I couldn't even imagine doing that. I don't think anyone, including myself, thought that I could switch.
Carolyn made the switch October 2016. Make the switch at JUUL.com. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Take the worry out of winter with the Winter Weather Advisor on KVFD, brought to you by Community Health Center Fort Dodge, offering dental, behavioral health, and general medical assistance for men, women, and children. They're committed to your well-being. Community Health Center. Get to know them. And Creative Cakes, making life sweet with espresso, lunch, gourmet cupcakes, and other sweet treats. Creative Cakes in the Crossroads Mall, Fort Dodge. They make life sweet. Listen for the Winter Weather Advisor on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD.
What does building a better bank look like? It starts with building Capital One cafes, warm, inviting places that feel nothing like a typical bank, where you can open an account with no fees or minimums in 5 minutes. And you'll always find people ready to help you, not sell you. Welcome to Banking Reimagined. What's in your wallet?
For consumers only, offered by Capital One and a member FDIC. Cafes available in select locations. Copyright 2018 Capital One.
Hey guys, good news. The outrageously expensive Little Blue pill is now generic, which means you can get the prescription medication to treat ED at affordable prices. And Hims makes it
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Let's look at local news from the newsroom. I'm Bob Fisher reporting. A candle has been pinpointed as the cause of a fire at a downtown Fort Dodge apartment complex yesterday. The Fort Dodge Fire Department tells us that they were called to the Biltwell Apartments at 106 North 10th Street shortly before 7 a.m. after a fire broke out in one of the apartments on the 6th floor. Firefighters were quickly able to control the blaze, but were on the scene for about 5 hours. One of the 6 people injured was taken to the hospital to be treated for smoke inhalation. The fire destroyed the apartment on the northeastern corner of the 6th floor and caused heat and smoke damage throughout the rest of that floor. Firefighters determined that the fire was started by an unattended candle in a bedroom. During the late stages of the 2018 campaign, Republican Governor Kim Reynolds proposed letting Iowa women buy the pill without a prescription. She plans to press the 2019 legislature to pass a bill that would make birth control pills available in Iowa without a doctor's prescription.
This is another opportunity for us to have bipartisan support in something that makes sense.
In 2016, Democrats in the Iowa Senate passed a bill to make the policy in Iowa, but Republicans in the House tabled the proposal. Republican House Speaker Linda Upmeyer of Clear Lake says not all birth control pills are alike, and legislators will have to seek input from the medical community.
There are reasons that a physician would prescribe one over another. If someone has a predisposition to breast cancer, you want to make sure you're paying attention to your estrogen levels. Maybe there is one that is incredibly safe that people could agree to put on the shelf. I don't think we're opposed to that, but I do think we want to make sure it's safe for Iowans to have that access.
Democrats strongly criticized Reynolds for signing a bill last May to ban nearly all abortions, and Senate Democratic leader Janet Peterson of Des Moines says they're skeptical of this proposal too.
Iowa is in a really sad state as far as women's health care goes. It's getting harder and harder for women to find places and providers to get family planning services.
Peterson says many women want more effective long-term contraceptives rather than birth control pills, and the Republican effort to defund Planned Parenthood clinics has reduced access to those long-term options, especially in rural areas. The outline Governor Reynolds sketched during the campaign called for keeping birth control pills behind the pharmacy counter, but letting women buy them without a prescription. Her proposal did not cover other birth control options. Iowans who raise money for nonprofits and foundations are facing new challenges in the new year as a new federal tax law is raising concerns. Stacey Palmer is editor of the Chronicle of Philanthropy and says overall charitable contributions have been rising from low-income earners and those on the high end.
Middle-income people give in a lot of different ways, but that's where the biggest drop in the share of people who are giving is coming. And so people are really starting to raise questions about how can you persuade those people to start giving again or giving more.
That fall in donations from middle-income earners is a problem, she says, because nonprofits need a broad base of support for stability and growth. Also, Palmer says charities are worried donations will decrease by millions of dollars because of the new tax law. And an unusually warm weekend is ahead for Iowans, with forecasters calling for highs in the mid-40s to mid-50s. For some cities, that's 25 degrees above normal. State climatologist Justin Glisson says it's a continuation of the weather we had during December, which averaged about 5 degrees warmer than the normal statewide. Glisson says it was a wetter month, too.
Statewide precipitation averaged about 2.09 inches, and that's about 3/4 of an inch above normal. And most of that precipitation fell as rainfall, not snow. In terms of snowfall itself, we were much below average, around 3 inches on the ground statewide, and typically we see about 8 inches.
Some Iowans have not even fired up their snow blowers yet, or have they had to toss one shovel of snow. Looking ahead, Glisson says they'll likely remain warmer and wetter for several more days.
Getting into the first full week of January into the second week, we're slated to have temperatures well above average, which we don't see that typically in January. On the flip side of that, we do have an increased probability of precipitation over that time period.
Any precipitation that does fall over the upcoming 10 days or so will likely come down as rain, he says, and not as snow. And that's a look at local news from the newsroom. I'm Bob Fisher.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. 339, 49 degrees in the weather. Sunny today. High 49, maybe 50. We'll see if it gets to be 50. I'm rooting for it. Sunny tomorrow with a high of 50. On Sunday, mostly cloudy with a high of 40. Monday, sunny with a high of 44. Tuesday, sunny with a high of 41. Wednesday, sunny with a high of 39. And Thursday, sunny with a high of 42. Not bad weather for this time of year. 49 degrees right now at AM 1400. KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Obituaries this hour brought to us by Loftus File Receivers Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 307 South 12th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Loftus File Receivers Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-3156 or online at www.loftusfilereceiversfuneralhome.com. Bob Norquist has died. Robert V. Norquist. Bob Norquist has passed away at the age of 86. Mr. Norquist's services tomorrow at 11 o'clock at St. Paul Lutheran Church with Loftus File Receivers Funeral Home serving the family. By the way, visitation for Bob Norquist will be this afternoon from 5 to 7 at Loftus File Receivers Funeral Home. Nicholas Weed has died at the age of 21. There will be a memorial service tomorrow at 1 o'clock in the afternoon for Nicholas Weed at Loftus File Receivers Funeral Home. Obituaries this hour brought to us by Loftus File Receivers Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 307 South 12th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Loftus File Receivers Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-3156 or online at www.loftusfilereceiversfuneralhome.com. It's 3:40.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. March corn up 3 1/4 at 3.83. May up 3 1/2 at 3.91. July corn up 3 1/2 at 3.98 1/4. September up 2 3/4 at 3.99 3/4. January soybeans up 9 1/4 at 9.09 1/2. March up 8 3/4 at 9.21 1/2. May beans up 9 cents at 9.34 1/2. July up 8 3/4 at 9.46. March wheat closed up 3 1/4 at 5.17. Soybean meal up 2.40 a ton at 3.15.10. February live cattle down 1.30 at 121.92. April down 1.40 at 1.24. January feeder cattle down 1.62 at 1.44.90. March down 1.62 at 1.42.82. February lean hogs down 20 cents at 61.95, and April down 67 cents at 66.75. I'm Dwayne Murley.
Flat Out Clean Janitorial Services now handles your residential cleaning. You've trusted them for commercial cleaning, and now you can trust them to do the same quality work in your home. Flat Out Clean will come to your home, clean your carpets, and refinish and wax your floors. Don't spend your hard-earned money on new carpet and flooring when all you really need is Flat Out Clean Janitorial Services. For a free estimate, find them on Facebook or call 570-9672. Flat Out Clean Janitorial Services, Fort Dodge.
Connect to this radio station from all across the country. Take us to the gym, shopping. How about a road trip? Listen to us now on the free iHeartRadio app. You'll never miss a moment with your favorite radio station. Download the free iHeartRadio app and search for this station so we can go wherever you want us to.
What does building a better bank look like? It starts with building Capital One cafes, warm, inviting places that feel nothing like a typical bank. where you can open an account with no fees or minimums in 5 minutes. And you'll always find people ready to help you, not sell you. Welcome to Banking Reimagined. What's in your wallet?
For consumers only. Offered by Capital One NA member FDIC. Cafes available in select locations. Copyright 2018 Capital One.
Take the worry out of winter with a winter weather advisor on KVFD, brought to you by Community Health Center Fort Dodge, offering dental, behavioral health, and general medical assistance for men, women, and children. They're committed to your well-being. Community Health Center. Get to know them. And Creative Cakes, making life sweet with espresso, lunch, gourmet cupcakes, and other sweet treats. Creative Cakes in the Crossroads Mall, Fort Dodge. They make life sweet. Listen for the winter weather advisor on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
Shut up!
Shut up and take the pain. Take the pain! Michael Devine, the doctor of truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. This is the only radio show in the state of Iowa with 60 rounds of freedom. Pumping it at you, baby, every Friday. That's correct. I'm also the only radio announcer in the world with my own nuclear weapons, and I'm not afraid to use them, by the way. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. I have just annihilated most of the anti-gun people in the state of Iowa. Anyway, joining us today is Senator Tim Kreinbrink and Representative-elect Ann Meyer, perhaps for the last time, as I've been acting pretty crazy here today. We're kind of expecting a call from Mayor Matt Bremrick. He wants to argue with Senator Kreinbrink for some reason. So we'll see what that's all about. But I did, and Representative Scrappy last week, the Assistant Majority Leader Scrapster, did speak at length of the backfill. The mayor was on and has been on, and maybe he'll join us yet. I don't know, but he's a little concerned and about backfill. When we're going to lose that and that sort of thing. I shouldn't say just we. I mean the cities and counties. Did the counties get backfilled too? I don't even know.
No, it's the cities.
Cities. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the mayor is a little concerned that we may lose backfill before the city's ready to do it. So that's the deal. I mean, again, Scrapster addressed this in his.
Well, and I think when Mike and I were here together, we talked a little bit about it because this was passed in 2013, the year before Mike and I were actually, and the way it was negotiated was the compromise that everybody talks about is that one party was willing to give tax cuts to the small businesses if the general fund of the state of Iowa were to give that money that they're going to be shorted because the tax cut out of the general revenue fund to the states or the cities that were hit by these drops of tax revenue. And the idea is that if we would do the tax cut, then naturally the city or town or city would grow. The old adage about, stimulate by tax cut rather than taxing too much.
I love it when you stimulate me, Tim.
and so, the question is, number one, was it ever meant to be ongoing and something that was in existence forever? Or was it something just to give relief to the cities until the taxes were generated the same or above where they were before? And so I suppose you could be on any side of that argument. Because there are probably things that were said behind closed doors and negotiations that, Ann and I and Mike aren't even aware of, of what was said. So as far as I remember, I don't ever remember anybody promising that this tax backfill from the general fund was going to go on forever. And so now we're faced with, our taxes being almost equal or in a lot of instances higher than what they were before the tax cuts were put into place on these cities and communities. And the tax cut, the backfill is still in place. And now we have to wean ourselves off of that extra revenue because the taxes coming in or have actually equaled or above, what they were previous to the tax cut. So that's the discussion we're going to have this year down there. and you have both sides of the issue. And I would imagine that we're going to come to some kind of an agreement, which is probably going to end up in a stepping down of the backfill over a period of time, depending on how that community or city has raised their revenue.
You know what we should do is raise taxes. I say that hoping Mike Sexton is listening.
Oh, we know he's listening. He just isn't going to tell us where he is. He's probably right outside.
He just goes completely crazy over the idea of raising taxes, unless it's for him.
And another thing that we're working on right now behind the scenes, I was down 2 weeks ago on the SAVE, which is for our schools. It's the extension of the penny sales tax,
right?
Say from 2029 and put it out far enough so schools can bond. So that's something that we're very close to getting a deal on between the House and the Senate and the governor.
Well, let's go to the phones. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Mr. Devine?
Yes.
Hey, we knew that would wake him up.
Well, we figured that would wake him
His alarm went off.
His alarm walked. I was wondering if you're going to call there, Mayor Bemrick. I've been kind of promoting your appearance here. I thought maybe you took the.
Actually, Mike has this built up bigger than a WWF.
Oh, I did have it built up, and I thought that damn Bemrick. He's down at Amigos. All right. Okay. So you wanted to talk
later.
So you wanted to talk to Representative-elect Myers and Senator Kreinbrink, or bring up something for them to address.
Well, I was just curious on what they're hearing as we're getting ready to go into the session as it relates to backfill, and if it's a hot topic again. The revenue projections still hold that backfill could be left alone this year.
Well, we have to remember, and this I talked about before, that we've had, $350 million that has been deappropriated over the last 2 years. That basically hit 18% of our budget. So, and then schools are going to want additional, and mental health and DHS is going to, that never stops going down as far as the money that we appropriate to that. So, we have to look and say, okay, the people that have been deappropriated the last couple of years, they probably are looking to kind of even out the playing field, when they had to take the brunt of the hit, as we were cutting the last couple of years. But, there aren't a lot of communities right now that aren't very close or above where they were in 2014 and 2013 as far as tax revenues are concerned. Some of them have come from growth, and some of them have been forced into raising property taxes, which, you're in enough meetings with surrounding communities that how they've taken care of it. But I think Fort Dodge alone, and since 14 to 19 here, we're down about 76,000 in revenue, according to the Iowa Department of Management, from where we were when we started cutting taxes for small businesses. And we've talked about this before, Matt. You and I have, back in March and April. I can recall a phone call that we were talking about it. We know it's not going to go on forever. There are people that want to get rid of it totally. There are people that want to keep it forever. And we're going to have to come to some type of an agreement. And I would say we haven't heard any hot discussions yet, but I would imagine once session starts, we're going to be negotiating on some way out of that commitment.
How about the governor's budget? Does the governor's budget preliminarily look like she's fully funding backfill, or do you?
I really never look at hers until we see her final one. I guess a preliminary budget is kind of, I'm not going to set my budget for region schools and community college and stuff off of something that she just preliminarily puts out there. And so I guess I could ask, but I haven't really heard if she included it or not.
Yeah. So, really, we understand and realize the fact that the legislature will make their decision on how to deal with funding of the backfill. But I think long-term solution-wise, a strong look at how we use the taxing system, property taxing system, and how the levies are set, and the general basic levy being the one of the greatest concern. that 810 cap on that, and then the emergency allowed emergency level, really those have not changed or been modified, or how they're collected for, since sometime in the 1970s.
Right.
So it'd really be interesting, instead of just talking about not appropriating the full funding of the backfill, but let's talk about the overall taxing system, and is it really the right way to do it in the modern era?
Yeah, is it up to date?
Fund police, fire, and some of those essential services outside of the general fund. Is there a way to set up a specific public safety levy? Is there different things that can be done to fully fund what is community determined its public safety needs are?
Right. And to be honest, and as well as I did, what happened with the negotiation is to get the tax cuts in place. A deal was made to backfill, and if the growth happens like it has in Fort Dodge, I think our growth is legitimate. Some of these communities just kept taxing more to get their tax base up, but we use TIF and other things so well that once these tax credits that are out there are starting to run out and these entities are starting to pay their true taxes, I can't see anything but really, really positive things that Fort Dodge has put themselves in a position to just be very positive, as far as our tax base and our growth. And I think you would agree with me on that.
Smart moves, but a phasing out of that tax backfill definitely is something that it takes some planning. And as we're building our budgets right now for the next fiscal year, we're trying to react to what the legislature may or may not do.
Right.
So
right.
It is a tough thing to do, but we'll just keep working with you and our representatives.
And if you would get some of that stuff down, Matt, on the levies and those type of things, get them to Mike Ann and I through an email or whatever, and we'll take that to the correct committee, and we can, we might have to have a sit down with you beforehand to make sure we understand fully what you would like to see, because we deal in the state, you deal in the local, and the local concerns a lot of times aren't what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the big dollar. You're looking at how it's used. So I think we need to understand it, and then we can advocate for you.
Yep. Well, we'll just keep our ears open, and I know the senator and our folks down there in Des Moines have done a good job of keeping us in the loop. So we'll look forward to working with them again this session, and I'll probably see you next week when I'm in Des Moines.
That's wonderful.
Well, this is very disappointing. I really wanted you to take off on Cranbrink, and here you are going, I know you're working hard for us. Don't suck up now. If you got something to jump on Cranbrink about, let's get wrestling here.
Usually the way this works, Mike, is we let them do something wrong before we yell at them.
Oh, is that
how it's supposed to work?
Well, I didn't. No.
That's why Mike's single.
Actually,
yeah. What are you turning into, a shock jock?
I may be single, but I'm doing okay. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about, Bemrick? You know what I'm talking about, man.
Thanks, Matt.
You know what I'm talking about. All right, we'll see you later. Boy, I'll tell you, that was a disappointment.
Yeah, I know. I think
Bemrick whipped out.
I think we probably cut Ann off. I know.
I'm sorry, Ann. So what do you think? Here's a question. Do you think the mayor really wimped out there? Because he really sounded contrite there. Almost apologetic for calling and questioning the Cranbrink.
Hey, you know what my nickname is?
Yeah, I do.
What?
Tubby. The voice of reason.
So
the voice of reason. I went back a few decades.
How can you argue with the voice of reason?
How can you argue with the voice of reason? I thought I was the voice of reason.
No. I think he called you a shock jock.
Yeah. Well,
and I think it all stemmed back to getting rid of your shocker when you're all hogs.
Oh man, it was a bummer. God, I can't believe these animal cruelty people. Please, Mrs. Hogg, will you get off that trailer and bring your friends with you?
That's why Scrappy.
Somebody sits in San Francisco or Washington D.C. and makes.
That's why Scrappy puts a sheep on at the end, because they lead, and everybody follows.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, those are sheep. Logs aren't like that. Those are
All right, Ann, back to you.
Back to you, Ann.
Well, it's very
Forgot what-
No, I didn't forget.
Okay,
It's
good.
very basic, though. It's when we were here with Mike 2 weeks ago. It's the truth. When we were in caucus, when we went over all the different areas, the appropriations chair made no mention of cutting any backfill. That was brought up from a concerned representative that is concerned about his issue. That, just like our city is concerned, they were concerned, and they were wondering if there's going to be any cut to the backfill. And Representative Grassley did. It didn't seem like there was any worry about that this year. Again, I'm very new. I haven't been in there. I don't want to, but that is what was said. There was no mention of it.
I guess I would probably predict that if it doesn't happen this year, it'll happen a little bit more drastically next year, and
Sure.
and otherwise, and I understand what Matt's saying. Matt's no different than the school system. The school system wants that allowable growth to be put into place early so they can do the planning for the next year. They have to know how many teachers to hire, how many classrooms they're going to need, and all of that stuff. Well, it's no different with Matt's budget. They have to know, what revenue they have coming in so they can make plans on, how they're going to be spending their funds. And so if, when I guess this discussion does happen, I think it'll happen earlier than later. And if it isn't totally worked out, at least we can tell them what to expect early so that they can continue their planning. That's what he's basically asking for. They're putting their budget together. They want to know what they can count on.
So what do you think? Bimrick, wimpy or not wimpy?
Not wimpy.
Not wimpy. All right. Tim, you don't want to commit. I understand. 4 o'clock, KVFD, Fort Dodge, Iowa. Thank you, Ann Meyer, Tim Granbrink, very much.
If you're into cars or just want to learn a thing or two, tune in every Saturday afternoon from 2 till 4 for the Under the Hood Car Show on AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
A working weekend at the White House. Lisa Brady, Fox News. More talks planned in the ongoing effort to end a partial government shutdown after the latest meeting between President Trump and top lawmakers today. Fox's John Decker, live at the White House.
Following his meeting with congressional leaders from both parties, the president claimed that he could simply build a border wall with Mexico on his own.
But we could call a national emergency and build it very quickly. And it's another way of doing it. But if we can do it through a negotiated process, we're giving that a shot.
Because the appropriations clause of the Constitution places limits on what the president can do on his own, he would still need the House and Senate appropriations committees to approve the funding, even if the president declares a national emergency. Lisa?
Meantime, John, Democrats are still urging the president to consider temporary measures passed by the House last night that would end the shutdown while talks continue.
We made a plea to the president once again. Don't hold millions of Americans, hundreds of thousands of workers hostage. Open up the government and let's continue the discussions.
But Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi say for now they agreed to keep negotiating. The special counsel in the Russia probe, Robert Mueller, hasn't given any indication how much longer the investigation might last. But Fox News confirms that a federal grand jury being used by Mueller's team in Washington, D.C. has been extended. The original term of 18 months expired today. A few words from the Fed chief can go a long way on Wall Street.
There is no preset path for policy.
Jay Powell, during a forum in Georgia, says the Fed will be patient on rate hikes, and that helped fuel a big rally. The Dow up 747 points, the S&P over 3%, the Nasdaq over 4%. This is Fox News.
I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's premier home purchase lender. Today's fluctuating interest rates can leave you with unexpected higher mortgage payments. At Quicken Loans, we've created a new way to protect you from unpredictable interest rates so you can buy a home with certainty. It's called Rate Shield, and here's how it works. With Rate Shield, you can lock your interest rate while you shop for a new home. So if rates go up, you don't have to worry. And here's the best part. If rates go down, you get the lower rate. With Rate Shield, we really have you covered. Here are more reasons why you'll want to work with America's largest mortgage lender. For 9 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the 5th year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. Rate Shield, another way we can save you money on your mortgage. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Based on Rocket Mortgage data in comparison to public data records. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply.
A campus shooting remains under investigation in Mississippi.
The campus of the Mississippi University for Women in Columbus, Mississippi, is on lockdown after one person was shot this afternoon. University officials haven't said who the victim is or what condition they're in, but that a suspect is being sought by the campus police as well as local and county law enforcement. They say the suspect is male, wearing blue jeans and an orange hoodie. The Mississippi University for Women has roughly 2,800 students. Eben Brown, Fox News.
One of the longest-serving Republicans in Congress will not seek re-election. Kansas Senator Pat Roberts is 82.
I will serve the remainder of this term as your senator, fighting for Kansas in these troubled times. However, I will not be a candidate in 2020 for a 5th Senate term.
Roberts saying he thinks it's just time, though he may have faced another grueling primary challenge as he did in 2014. The announcement made surrounded by family in his home state. Roberts started his Capitol Hill career as an aide in 1967. He's been in Congress since winning a House seat in 1980. There's Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and now Dating Sunday.
Love. If you're looking for love in the new year, mark your calendar for Sunday. Dating websites expect to see a surge in new users on January 6th. Match predicting a 69% spike in folks joining the app and that over 1.5 million messages will be sent. OkCupid predicting a 70% increase in users. Tinder says 10% of all matches are made in the month of January as singles set goals to meet someone in the new year.
Fox's Kristen Goodwin. In general, though, many surveys find the most popular New Year's resolutions involve exercise and losing weight. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With us, look at local news for the newsroom. I'm Bob Fisher reporting. A candle has been pinpointed as the cause of a fire at a downtown Fort Dodge apartment complex yesterday. The Fort Dodge Fire Department tells us that they were called to the Biltwell Apartments at 106 North 10th Street shortly before 7 a.m. after a fire broke out in one of the apartments on the 6th floor. Firefighters were quickly able to control the blaze, but were on the scene for about 5 hours. One of the 6 people injured was taken to the hospital and treated for smoke inhalation. The fire destroyed the apartment on the northeastern quarter of the 6th floor and caused heat and smoke damage throughout the rest of that floor. Firefighters determined that the fire was started by an unattended candle in a bedroom. During the late stages of the 2018 campaign, Republican Governor Karen Reynolds proposed letting Iowa women buy the pill without a prescription. She plans to press the 2019 legislature to pass a bill that would make birth control pills available in Iowa without a doctor's prescription.
This is another opportunity for us to have bipartisan support in something that makes sense.
In 2016, Democrats in the Iowa Senate passed a bill to make the policy in Iowa, but Republicans in the House tabled the proposal. Republican House Speaker Linda Upmeyer of Clear Lake says not all birth control pills are alike, and legislators will have to seek input from the medical community.
There are reasons that a physician would prescribe one over another. If someone has a predisposition to breast cancer, you want to make sure you're paying attention to your estrogen levels. Maybe there is one that is incredibly safe that people could agree to put on the shelf. I don't think we're opposed to that, but I do think we want to make sure it's safe for Iowans to have that access.
Democrats strongly criticized Reynolds for signing a bill last May to ban nearly all abortions, and Senate Democratic leader Janet Peterson of Des Moines says they're skeptical of this proposal too.
Iowa is in a really sad state as far as women's health care goes. It's getting harder and harder for women to find places and providers to get family planning services.
Peterson says many women want more effective long-term contraceptives rather than birth control pills, and the Republican effort to defund Planned Parenthood clinics has reduced access to those long-term options, especially in rural areas. The outline Governor Reynolds sketched during the campaign called for keeping birth control pills behind the pharmacy counter but letting women buy them without a prescription. Her proposal did not cover other birth control options. Iowans to raise money for nonprofits and foundations are facing new challenges in the new year as a new federal tax law is raising concerns. Stacey Palmer is editor of the Chronicle of Philanthropy and says overall charitable contributions have been rising from low-income earners and those on the high end.
Middle income people give in a lot of different ways, but that's where the biggest drop in the share of people who are giving is coming. And so people are really starting to raise questions about how can you persuade those people to start giving again or giving more.
That fall in donations from middle-income earners is a problem, she says, because nonprofits need a broad base of support for stability and growth. Also, Palmer says charities are worried donations will decrease by millions of dollars because of the new tax law. And an unusually warm weekend is ahead for Iowans, with forecasters calling for highs in the mid-40s to mid-50s. For some cities, that's 25 degrees above normal. State climatologist Justin Glisson says it's a continuation of the weather we had during December, which averaged about 5 degrees warmer than the normal statewide. Glisson says it was a wetter month, too.
Statewide precipitation averaged about 2.09 inches, and that's about 3/4 of an inch above normal. And most of that precipitation fell as rainfall, not snow. In terms of snowfall itself, we were much below average, around 3 inches on the ground statewide, and typically we see about 8 inches.
Some Iowans have not even fired up their snowblowers yet, or have they had to toss one shovel of snow. Looking ahead, Glisson says they'll likely remain warmer and wetter for several more days.
Getting into the first full week of January into the second week, we're slated to have temperatures well above average, which we don't see that typically in January. On the flip side of that, we do have an increased probability of precipitation over that time period.
Any precipitation that does fall over the upcoming 10 days or so will likely come down as rain, he says, and not as snow. And that's a look at local news from the newsroom. I'm Bob Fisher reporting.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Bright sunshine expected this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 48. Westerly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows dip down to about 29. Tonight, mainly clear skies. Tomorrow, 47. Highs around 40 Sunday under overcast skies. 44 Monday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 49.
When the ball drops and a new calendar year begins, one of the most common resolutions we make is to eat healthier or go on a diet. In your quest for health and wellness this year, don't ditch dairy. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield. Dairy products are rich in nutrients. Milk, whether skim, whole, or fat-free, is a good source of calcium, potassium, protein, vitamins, DNA, and more. One glass of milk contains 30% of our daily recommended amount of vitamin D, and it takes 3 cups of broccoli to equal the calcium in 1 glass of milk. Milk also doesn't have any added sugar. There are about 12 grams of naturally occurring sugar in milk called lactose. Yogurt also has health benefits. Yogurt, which is typically low in calories, contains probiotics that improve gut health and can help reduce chronic inflammation. Yogurt is also high in protein, about 13 grams per cup. It is a snack that can curb appetites. And don't forget about cheese. Cheese has similar nutrients and can also improve dental, bone, muscle, and heart health. Midwest Dairy says the calcium and phosphorus in cheese strengthens bones and can help regulate blood pressure. And if you're intolerant to the lactose in milk, there are lactose-free dairy products. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager, Learning the Lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
If you're talking, they will hear you.
Why are we getting killed like this?
Kyle's not here. Got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Harsh.
Hey, he knew not to drink. We've made that clear to all of our kids, right?
No, not really.
Bill, if we don't tell them what we expect and why they shouldn't drink, how are they going to know?
Talk. They hear you. For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Ride the bus with the Dart and Midas Transit.
Need to get somewhere in Hamilton, Pocahontas, Calhoun, or Humboldt County this winter? Midas will take you there. Live in Manson and need a ride to the grocery store? Midas will take you there. Live in Webster City and need a ride to the theater? Midas will take you there. Live in Rockwell City and need to get to the clinic? Midas will take you there. Call 800 Bus Ride. Midas, helping you get where you want to go. Your connection to Jefferson Lines.
Our job here's getting you there. Ride the bus.
It's Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
Shut up. Shut up and take the pain. Take the pain.
If you don't listen to him, you suck.
He's sneaky, but he's right.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
There we go, AM 1400 KVFD. Yeah, we're talking sports again. Ladies and gentlemen, we always do on Friday, and we're very glad to have back with us again after a hiatus, Randy Coleman. How you doing, Randy?
Doing well, Mike. How are you?
All right. A lot of folks know you were sick, of course, in the hospital. That kind of made us all a little nervous. We didn't like to hear that, you know. And,
yeah, spent a few days in the hospital, but I'm on the mend and feeling a lot better. So
you're back working and everything?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yep. So
when did this happen? What dates were you in the hospital? Right before Christmas, wasn't it?
Well, it was actually a week and a half, 2 weeks before Christmas. And I just had a weird thing happen that.
How'd you know you were sick? What happened?
I just had a lot of pain in my abdomen.
There was pain.
Yeah. And I thought I was having a gallbladder attack or something. Turned out it was more of an issue with the blood clot in my in a vein, and it goes to my liver and created a lot of inflammation and pain. And
wow.
And then once I got the hospital, got the pain under control, things progressed pretty steadily from there. But I spent a few days in the hospital, and that's never fun, but I'm glad to be back among the living, as they say. So,
well, you look like you've been sick.
Yeah. I've lost 10 pounds, which
that's what it is.
That's the good news.
I could lose 10 pounds and I wouldn't even know it. But anyway. Well, glad to have you back, buddy.
Yeah,
I'm glad you had to go through all that. But
appreciate it.
Anyway, let's talk a little sports here. The world's greatest sports commentator was in here a little earlier, and that would be Nevin, of course. And Nevin's a passionate guy. He was revved up today about the University of Iowa and that god awful game they played last night against Purdue.
It wasn't pretty, that's for sure.
It was not pretty. I tried to watch it, and here, and I kind of alluded to this when I was talking with Nevin, but this team that was put together a couple of years ago was really supposed to be a big deal. They had a bunch of freshmen and they're very talented kids, and all we need to do is bring them along a little bit, get them some experience, some court time, and wow, we're really going to take off. They looked terrible last night.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, they have been a big disappointment. Jordan Bohannon, I had a clip of him a little earlier today. This is his third year, and Bohannon's a good player. He says lately, he's been struggling with a lot of self-doubt.
Yeah. Well, he looks like it the way he's playing. It's too bad. He's in a real funk shooting wise, but you're right. 2 years ago, they had Peter Jock, who was one of the best shooters in the country.
Yeah.
They relied very heavily on him, and that chemistry seemed to work very well for that team. And then when Jock graduated, everybody thought, well, the rest of the team's back, so they'll be even better. And of course, last year was a disappointing year. And then they started off the year with a bang, winning the tournament out in New York, beating Oregon and Connecticut, and getting ranked in the top 20 and all of that. And everybody, your hopes got up. And then now we're back to seeing the same old Iowa Hawkeyes again.
Right.
And to me, Mike, it just looks like everybody we play has better athletes than Iowa does. We're not very quick. We're not very fast. So, and when you're not quick and fast, it makes it hard to defend effectively. And Iowa's not a good defensive team. And I don't think it's due to a lack of effort. I think it's just due to a lack of athleticism.
Is that what you think to hear? I have another theory here, and you're an old basketball coach.
Right.
Can't we lay a lot of the blame for this at the feet of the coaching staff? I mean, McCaffrey has not been what we hoped he would be, to my mind.
Yeah. Well,
do we have enough talent, but not the best coach to make use of that talent?
Well, I think where McCaffrey has really suffered is in the recruiting process. We've needed a good point guard for the last 2 years, still don't have one. And successful college coaches that are getting paid, $2.5, $3 million a year like he is, you've got to be able to recruit talent that can make you competitive. And I think when you watch Iowa play a team that's athletic like Michigan State, and they embarrassed us by 30 points, and then Purdue had us down by almost 30 last night. I saw a statistic last night during the game. They said that Iowa, in the last several, maybe it was last year's and this year's road games, we averaged losing by a margin of 17 points on the road, which means you're not being competitive at all on the road. That's a very disappointing statistic. Believe it or not, this is McCaffrey's 9th year at Iowa.
I was going to say, he's been around a while now.
And they've given
him... And we're still getting this.
Yeah, and he did a good job of taking the program from the ashes that Licklider had us at. And
boy, he didn't work out at all.
He was horrible. And then he came in and got us in the tournament and had a couple of good teams. And then now it's kind of, we're going back in a direction that nobody's happy with. But at times, even last night, there were some simple plays that Purdue was running that it's like, my gosh, you're a head coach. You got about 5 assistants over there. You ought to be able to figure out what they're doing to you and tell your kids to stop it, And Purdue had 42 points in the paint last night. And
42.
And at least half of those were dunks, which means that you're not defending the rim at all. And it was just an ugly game. But I thought was even worse was Iowa's offense. I mean, we can't shoot the ball. The only guy that's playing well is Tyler Cook. And he's not a good shooter, but he's a heck of an athlete. And he scores a lot of points for Iowa. He had 24 last night. But yeah, it's just disappointing. And when you're in the Big Ten and you're at that level and you're getting paid $2.5 to $3 million a year, you've got to be able to recruit. And I thought the big setback in recruiting this year was there's a 5-star point guard in Bettendorf, Iowa this year that Iowa has been recruiting for 3 years. He's right in our backyard. He's guaranteed to start for Iowa because we have no point guard. And yet he shuns Iowa and picks Ohio State. And
Ohio State.
Yeah. It's not like he's going to Duke or North Carolina or something.
Yeah.
He's going to Ohio State. And that to me was reflective of Iowa's inability to recruit. And that's where I think the problem lies with McCaffrey and his staff. It's just disappointing. And what I fear is going to happen is the same thing that happened with Licklider. The fan base will start to drop off, and you'll be playing home games with 8,000 people there, half the arena filled, and then it becomes a real bad situation.
Well, not
for
too
you.
many people are going to come out in the middle of winter to see a game like the Purdue game.
Right. And so I don't know. Iowa's got the kids. They're good kids. I know they're working hard, but they're just not playing well. And ultimately, the accountability falls back to the head coach. And
that's right.
When you've been there 9 years and now you've got a product like that you're putting on the floor for the second or third time in a row now.
3 years in a row.
But, Barta, the athletic director, how I feel about Barta. He won't fire anybody.
He won't.
He just keeps giving them raises and buyouts, and it's just crazy. And so it's hard to figure out what's going to happen there in Iowa City. But you hate to see the program going in this direction. And they got a game on Sunday against a very good Nebraska team that's going to come in, and I think that'll be a good measuring stick. If Nebraska can come into Iowa City and beat the Hawks at home, then things are going to be in bad shape, because Iowa right now is 0-3 in the Big Ten. And when you look at the Big Ten conference, I was doing that this morning. There's not very many bad teams in the conference this year.
Right.
I mean, even the ones, Rutgers at Northwestern, Penn State, they're not bad programs. They're playing teams a lot more competitive than Iowa is. I mean, Iowa could end up, I mean, if they play like they did last night, they'll end up at the bottom of the Big Ten, unfortunately. And that's never a good thing. And so I would agree with Nevin on that. We talked about it at lunch today, but every Hawkeye fan I talk to feels the same way, but they all say Barta's not going to do anything about it. So, and to me, the only thing worse about fans that are complaining and griping a lot about their team is ones that don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And when apathy sets into your program, boy, it's hard to get that back. You've got to work hard to get that fan base back. And I think that's the biggest risk for Iowa basketball is the fans are just going to say, I don't care anymore. And then things really get bad. And if you think recruiting's tough now, wait till you try to recruit kids into where a half-filled arena, where there's no energy and so things aren't trending in a good way. And it's interesting enough at Iowa, you got Ferentz has been there for 20 years. You've got now McCaffrey's been there 9 years, and then you compare that to a UCLA that fires their coach at midseason.
Well, I've talked about that many times over the years, and of course I take ungodly heat from the Ferentz fans for doing that. The Outback Bowl, Ferentz kept his team on the field and focused, and they won the game.
Right.
There was a couple of disastrous mistakes in that game. There was like a 14-point
in 18 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah, in real quick. And if we'd had a lesser coaching staff, I can't believe I'm about to say this. The team could have collapsed.
Yeah. Yeah, I think. And this is, I heard Nevin talking, you and Nevin talking. I disagree with Nevin on this. Was Iowa lucky? Yeah, probably a little bit. Certainly that guy dropped the pass in the end zone that was intercepted.
Nevin has a little bit of difficulty giving the Hawkeyes credit sometimes.
But I'll be honest with you. Sometimes, the Iowa defense won that game. They forced some critical turnovers, some big sacks.
Yes.
They had a goal line stand that held them to a field goal instead of a touchdown. I thought our defense played tremendous football. So yeah, it's easy to say, hey, Iowa played great when your offense really looks good. But when your defense really looks good, but your offense maybe doesn't, people say, well, we didn't play very well. Well, maybe the offense didn't, but the defense played one heck of a ball game at the Outback Bowl. And the thing I think a lot of people don't realize or forget, Mississippi State's defense, it was the number one ranked defense in the Southeast Conference this year, ahead of Nebraska. I mean, not Nebraska, but Alabama, ahead of LSU, ahead of Georgia, ahead of Florida. These are top 10 programs. Mississippi State's defense was ranked number one in the Southeast Conference. Could we run the ball on that defensive line and linebackers they had? No, we couldn't. But we did pass the ball on them. And quite honestly, our offensive line did a great job of pass blocking and gave Stanley some time so he wasn't under intense pressure. And when he's not under pressure, he'll throw the ball pretty well. And he did in that game and made some big plays. And he made a huge fourth down play for Iowa with his legs. I still haven't seen that big boy be able to throw that ball down the field with any degree of accuracy. Well, he's had a few that he's been inconsistent. There's some games he's been tremendous. The Indiana game this year, he threw 6 touchdown passes, looked like the best quarterback in America. And then he comes back in some of our bigger games and played poorly. And I've never been a big Stanley fan. He's a good young man. I know he works hard at it. My biggest concern with Stanley is his immobility. But fortunately, our offensive line played very well from a passing standpoint. And Iowa won. And you can say, well, we were lucky. Iowa did not have one penalty in that game. Not one penalty. They had 8 penalties.
That's discipline.
And And so you can give credit to the offensive line. There was no holding calls where they had 3 or 4 holding calls.
Mhm.
And the replays show that they were legitimate holding calls, which tells you that our defensive line and linebackers, when they were blitzing, were creating havoc with Mississippi State. And let's face it, whenever you go to a bowl game and you beat a Southeast Conference school, you got to feel pretty darn good about it. And the thing that just boggles my mind is I was just looking at the latest top 25 final poll that came out, and it just boggles my mind because you've got, I mean, I can't believe how these people vote on. You got Michigan ranked 8th. I mean, Michigan looked horrible in their bowl game. They're still ranked 8th.
Michigan ranked 8th.
Yeah. Penn State gets beaten their bowl game. They're still ranked 13th. Penn State's 9-4. So is Iowa. Iowa's ranked 26th. Penn State's 9-4, the same record as Iowa. So a lot of these rankings go on your reputation as a program rather than really who you are. Get this: Mississippi State, Iowa beats Mississippi State. Their record is 8-5. They're ranked 18th. Get this:
Iowa 26th and Mississippi State 18th.
And I don't know if you saw the bowl game with Texas just embarrassed Georgia in their bowl game the other day. Georgia ends up ranked 6th at 11-3, and Texas is ranked 14th at 10-4. Texas just beat the pants off of Georgia, and yet they're ranked 6 or 7 slots below them. I just don't understand these rankings whatsoever. And
are they still? Well, this is sports writers, right?
Well, it was AP coaches and
coaches
as well. It just boggles my mind, and so it's I don't know. I don't quite understand that, but I guess it is what it is. And kudos to Iowa State. They ended up being ranked 25th, even though they lost.
Did you see their game?
Oh yeah, I saw that game, and that was a game they could have won, but they made a lot of and they had some calls go against them, no question about that.
Well, I talked to Nevin about this. We have to revisit that targeting rule. The second one I think really was, well, the announcers during the game said it was technically correct, and I saw what they were saying.
Yeah.
But I don't agree with that level of scrutiny on targeting. I mean, they were headed to the ground, and the guy hit him with his, and the Iowa State player hit him with his helmet.
But
that's going to happen in a football game.
Yeah, it is. But you've really got to coach and teach players to hit with the shoulder and not the helmet. When you lead with the helmet with this targeting rule anymore, they're probably going to throw you out of the ball game.
That's right.
And that's what happened. And yeah, the second one was questionable. There's no question about it. But why are you coming in there leading with your helmet?
Because that's the way kids were taught until fairly recently.
Right. But it's still, it's unfortunate. And it happens in every game. I mean, LSU or Mississippi State's cornerback got a targeting call against Iowa. He came in and led with the helmet, but and they threw him out. So it is a tough call, and I agree they need to revisit that. It's such a judgment call, and things happen so fast on the field.
Campbell took off on that second one. I haven't seen Campbell take off.
Yeah,
on a referee.
That was a tough one. But Iowa State had 5 or 6 illegal procedure penalties on offense where the linemen were moving before the snap that really hurt them, and so they kind of, pardon my French, crapped in their own nest a little bit too, which really hurt them. That was too bad, but because that was a game that they could have won, and probably many people said should have won.
Well, I really wish their season would have ended that way with a victory.
Yeah. It's always good to win those bowl games. You look at Purdue. Purdue had a great year, and then they got beat 63-7 or something by Auburn. And it's almost like
Purdue beat Ohio State this year.
Yeah, badly. Yeah. And it's almost like that ruined their whole season to get embarrassed like that at the end of the year. And again, another SEC team. And yet, so you got to feel good about the Hawks beating an SEC team, and it just gives you momentum going into the next season, and it helps with everything, recruiting and everything else.
A lot of us have friends in Iowa City. They moved to Iowa City to go to school and stayed there.
Right.
And I remember when Steve Alford was the University of Iowa coach down there. Alford was a legend in Iowa City for being a 5-star jerk. I mean, he was just a big jerk, and he would order things from retailers and not pay them because he was Steve, and he just thought they were giving them to him because he was Steve, you know. And so off to he did a good job in New Mexico, but as you alluded to, he got fired mid-season. UCLA has had enough of him.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't doubt it a bit if one of the reasons UCLA fired him and they were tired of him for being such a jerk.
Well, yeah, that never helps. But the other thing is he has 9 players on his team that were top 100 players.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of talent there, and I think they have some real prima donna issues on that team, and they just stopped listening to him. And
so Alfred's the worst guy in the world to take care of that.
Yeah.
You have a challenge, by the way. I have a text here that says the numbers that you just read as far as bowl rankings, those are pre-bowl rankings. The final rankings come out Monday.
Oh, okay.
During the national championship game. So maybe they'll be different.
That's interesting. I hope he's right, because I think that would make a lot of sense. Although one of them I pulled up said it was post rankings, but
post bowl, you mean?
Post bowl rankings, but what can you believe on the internet, right, Mike?
Yeah,
so
what
anyway,
can you?
so I hope he's right.
I asked this question to Nevin. I'll ask it to you. Do you think Fred Hoiberg would consider going to UCLA?
His name's been mentioned a lot. I don't see it as a good match. And I just read today that one of the a billionaire supporter of the UCLA basketball program is pushing for them to hire Rick Pitino.
Really?
Yeah. And I think that's what UCLA, maybe not Pitino, but I think they're going to go after a big name guy that
Rick's still in a little bit of hot water there, isn't he?
Well, he's actually coaching in Europe right now.
Yeah.
And
good place to watch. That's what I mean. He's out of the country completely.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But I think they'll end up with somebody that's more of a big name coach that can come in there and recruit big time, but also control those kids. And
Fred's not going to UCLA.
I can't see that happening.
Fred, when he went to Chicago, he was asked if he'd ever consider going back to Iowa State or to a college level coaching. He said no. He just said, I don't like it's constant recruiting,
he's not
recruiting.
He was a good recruiter, but he didn't like it.
He didn't like it. Away from home too much, away from his kids. And
I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in the front office somewhere with an NBA team. I think
that's where he came from.
Yeah. He's a highly respected person. And a class act. And my guess is he may end up in one of those kind of assistant GM positions somewhere. And
he'd be great GM.
He would be.
Randy Kuhlman's our guest. Here in just a few minutes, we're going to go to the weather and the closing market report and that sort of thing. We're going to talk with Matt Brown of the Formation Group. And Randy is involved. And I wanted to talk with Nevin about this a little bit. We never got the job done. But Matt Brown with Formation Group, who is working on the Warden Plaza project with Randy and others here in Fort Dodge, will be our guest at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, in just a few minutes.
Liberty Mutual Insurance knows you're focusing on the road right now, so we'll just describe our new online banner ads to you. They're bright, welcoming, and clickable, with a perfectly stacked headline that reads, Liberty Mutual customizes your auto insurance so you only pay for what you need. You'll find yourself drinking in this banner ad for minutes on end and wondering about your own insurance choices.
Go to libertymutual.com for a customized quote and you could save.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Coverage is underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates.
All right.
For you.
All right. Need to get somewhere in Hamilton, Pocahontas, Calhoun, or
Rounds
Humboldt
of
County this
freedom.
winter? Midas will take you there. Live in Manson and need a ride to the grocery store? Midas will take you there. Live in Webster City and need a ride to the theater? Midas will
Liberty
take you
Mutual
there. Live in Rockwell City and need to get to the clinic? Midas will take you there. Call 800 Bus Ride. Midas, helping you get where you want to go. Your connection to Jefferson Lines.
Our job here is getting you there. Ride the bus.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Bright sunshine expected this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 48. Westerly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows dip down to about 29. Tonight, mainly clear skies. Tomorrow, 47. Highs around 40 Sunday under overcast skies. 44 Monday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 48.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. March corn up 3 1/4 at 3.83. May up 3 1/2 at 3.91. July corn up 3 1/2 at 3.98 1/4. September up 2 3/4 at 3.99 3/4. January soybeans up 9 1/4 at 9.09 1/2. March up 8 3/4 at 9.21 1/2. May beans up 9 cents at 9.34 1/2. July up 8 3/4 at 9.46. March wheat closed up 3 1/4 at 5.17. Soybean meal up 2.40 a ton at 3.15.10. February live cattle down 1.30 at 121.92. April down 1.40 at 1.24. January feeder cattle down 1.62 at 1.44.90. March down 1.62 at 1.42.82. February lean hogs down 20 cents at 61.95, and April down 67 cents at 66.75. I'm Dwayne Murley.
From the Fox Business Network, the economy adding 312,000 jobs in the month of December. That's well above expectations. Unemployment rate ticked higher to 3.9%, with more people entering the labor force and now out looking for work. There were 2.63 million jobs created last year. That's the most since 2015. Stocks rallying big time, partially on that report. The Dow ending higher by 746 points, capping another volatile week for investors. Stocks did close higher, though, for the week. Here's something causing drivers to maybe hit the brakes. Gas prices rising Friday, and that snaps what was an 85-day losing streak. The national average for regular unleaded gas now at $2.25 a gallon. It's around 25 cents higher than this time last year. Ford recalling more than 950,000 vehicles in North America, most of them in the U.S. Some problems with exploding airbags made by the Japanese company Takata. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Connell McShane.
I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's premier home purchase lender. We've created a new way to protect you from unpredictable interest rates. Our exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, we lock your interest rate for up to 90 days. Then, if rates go up, your rate stays locked. But if rates go down, your rate drops. Either way, you win. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply.
Even in my own home, I had my own designated space to smoke. If I think about it, it really was like I was punishing myself. A friend of mine said, why wouldn't you just try the Juul? And so I went out and I bought one. The idea of going back to smoking, I couldn't even imagine doing that. I don't think anyone, including myself, thought that I could switch.
Carolyn made the switch October 2016. Make the switch at JUUL.com. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
What does building a better bank look like? It starts with building Capital One cafes, warm, inviting places that feel nothing like a typical bank, where you can open an account with no fees or minimums in 5 minutes. And you'll always find people ready to help you, not sell you. Welcome to Banking Reimagined. What's in your wallet?
For consumers only. Offered by Capital One N.A. member FDIC. Cafes available in select locations. Copyright 2018 Capital One.
Indeed knows finding the right hire takes time away from your business.
Hiring a qualified data engineer felt like a second job.
More job seekers use Indeed than any other site, so there's no better place to find someone with the skills you're looking for.
I needed someone with a master's in computer science and database experience.
Plus, Indeed screener questions help you find your shortlist fast.
Now I'm back to having just one job.
Get a $50 credit to give your first job posting premium placement at Indeed.com/credit. Terms, conditions, quality standards, and usage limits apply. Additional terms online.
Take the worry out of winter with a winter weather advisor on KVFD, brought to you by Community Health Center Fort Dodge, offering dental, behavioral health, and general medical assistance for men, women, and children. They're committed to your well-being. Community Health Center. Get to know them. And Creative Cakes, making life sweet with espresso, lunch, gourmet cupcakes, and other sweet treats. Creative Cakes in the Crossroads Mall, Fort Dodge. They make life sweet. Listen for the winter weather advisor on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD. Take the worry out of winter with a winter weather advisor on KVFD, brought to you by Community Health Center Fort Dodge, offering dental, behavioral health, and general medical assistance for men, women, and children. They're committed to your well-being. Community Health Center. Get to know them. And Creative Cakes, making life sweet with espresso, lunch, gourmet cupcakes, and other sweet treats. Creative Cakes in the Crossroads Mall, Fort Dodge. They make life sweet. Listen for the winter weather advisor on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD.
When the ball drops and a new calendar year begins, one of the most common resolutions we make is to eat healthier or go on a diet. In your quest for health and wellness this year, don't ditch dairy. Hi, I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield. Dairy products are rich in nutrients. Milk, whether skim, whole, or fat-free, is a good source of calcium, potassium, protein, vitamins, DNA, and more. One glass of milk contains 30% of our daily recommended amount of vitamin D, and it takes 3 cups of broccoli to equal the calcium in 1 glass of milk. Milk also doesn't have any added sugar. There are about 12 grams of naturally occurring sugar in milk called lactose. Yogurt also has health benefits. Yogurt, which is typically low in calories, contains probiotics that improve gut health and can help reduce chronic inflammation. Yogurt is also high in protein, about 13 grams per cup. It is a snack that can curb appetites. And don't forget about cheese. Cheese has similar nutrients and can also improve dental, bone, muscle, and heart health. Midwest Dairy says the calcium and phosphorus in cheese strengthens bones and can help regulate blood pressure. And if you're intolerant to the lactose in milk, there are lactose-free dairy products. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager, Learning the Lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time, as in spaghetti sandwiches for dinner. They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Divine Intervention is online at yourfortdodge.com, on Twitter at JMike1400.
All right, this is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Joining Randy Kuhlman on the air. And joining us on the air is Matt Brown with the Formation Group. How are you, man?
Great. How are you doing today?
Well, we're doing real good. We got the world of sports all straightened out, so we can move on.
Hi, Matt.
Good.
You are contracted. Your group, Formation Group, has been contracted with the city of Fort Dodge to work in the Warden Plaza. We really want to talk about that. Are we making any progress here, Matt?
Yes, we are. Slow but steady, I guess, is the best way to put it. The biggest thing that happened, actually, I guess, how deep do you want me to go, Mike?
I want you to go.
Do you want me to tell you the whole life story, or do you want me to just kind of brief it in the top level?
I got 15 minutes, man. Whip it on us, buddy.
Okay. So the good news is that what we're doing is everything we're doing is the right steps in the right order. And sometimes when it comes to projects like this, it takes longer than you ever expect. And I would say that we've been thrown some curveballs, but it has not derailed the project. I think the biggest issue that had come up was that a developer back several years ago had submitted for historic tax credits, and the project was they showed the Warden residences and the Wakanza Annex as all one building and a figure, one page, one image as a figure in the drawings. And somehow the national process and everybody considered them one building at that point. So historically, they became combined buildings. And so we've been working diligently to unravel that. And as far as it's gone back to the state has recommended separation. The National Park Service, which ultimately approves the historic tax credits, has also agreed with that. And the last thing we needed was a signature. That signature was going to be given to us on December 26th, but on December 24th, the federal government shut down. So we don't have that signature because of the federal government shutdown.
That will drive you crazy, won't it?
Yeah, it is. And so this is little things like that just kind of take time. And ultimately, no matter what happens, the separation of those buildings, which would be the Warden residences and then the Wakanza Annex, is critical to anything we do next, because we don't want to do something with one and not the other and compromise tax credits, which are a significant component of that Warden residence project. KDG out of Kansas City is working diligently to continue to work through the process of the Part 1, Part 2, get their tax credits approved. The design process is underway. And so now we're really just waiting on this signature at this point from the National Park Service to keep us moving forward.
Well, work with me here a little bit. Let's just assume for a minute we have it right now. What happens then? What happens?
As soon as we have it right now. Yep.
Yeah. As soon as we have it, what happens next?
Next thing that's going to happen is that KDG will move fast and furiously forward and get their Part 2 approved. And their Part 2 on that Warden residence is essentially what gives them the go-ahead to say, hey, the state and the federal government are, as much as they can, commit to those tax credits or committing those tax credits. And that gives them at least a surety on not necessarily a guarantee, but it tells them that, hey, these credits are available to you if you finish this project, which is a big chunk of what they need financially to do this project.
Are you telling me this project may actually get done?
I think it may.
But there's no guarantees as of yet.
No guarantees. I mean, it's one of those things that we have. So you've got a project that's got three components. So you've got, and they're complex components. We've got the Warden residences, which, that's approximately a $30 million project with historic tax credits as a key component. We're working on that piece of it. We have the REC, which is a 120,000 square foot project, which is it's 23 to 25 and change $1 million for a project that we have a fundraising effort, and we have essentially the whole process of understanding how we financially provide that project is something that we're embarking on now. And then we've got this intermodal hub, which we had submitted for a sizable build grant from the federal government, which $11.5 million project we submitted for roughly $7.5 million from the federal government, and a project submission that this build grant, I don't know if anybody really knows, but it's $1.5 billion available to projects all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, we were not awarded this time around, but I don't feel so bad because I heard that the Des Moines Airport wanted build grant funding and they didn't get it either. So you look at the class of citizens that didn't get it, I think we're okay. We had a great submission. We're going to do a follow-up, and we're going to find out what we need to do, because we're going to go right back at it.
How did they
submit again?
How did they make that decision, Matt? I mean, what did we have to show them to get that build grant for the intermodal hub?
Well, just as in anything, you show them, you present a good argument, and the argument should stand on its own. Our argument is that we're asking for approximately 10% of this entire redevelopment project, which is an economic stimulus for downtown Fort Dodge, and I guess that wasn't good enough.
Really?
And so you kind of look at that and you scratch your head and go, what's going on? So there must have been other factors playing into this first round, which we weren't aware of, but we're definitely going to be ready for the next round.
Okay. Well, I hope that's the case. Can our Congressman King and senators help us here, any?
Absolutely. Congressman King, Mayor Bemrick has been in contact with Congressman King, and he was actually surprised that we didn't get the grant. And so he's very much in favor of it. We did go out in, I guess it was December now. I was thinking it was a while ago, but we did visit with King, Ernst, Grassley, and also the DOT in DC to just try to reinforce right before the award, which was December 18th, reinforce anything we could reinforce at the end. And we definitely had King 100% on board. Grassley and Ernst had also given letters of support and recommendation. And so I think we did everything we needed to do that first round. It was just, there was just something didn't meet the mark that they expected. I guess it's the DOT expected.
And they weren't telling us what that was, I bet.
Right.
No. Well, Keep us in the dark. That's always good. Randy, I want to get you in here. Where do you think we're at here on this project?
Well, I would concur with Matt that we've had some delays, basically due to things out of our control, and that's always frustrating. But you just have to deal with it. I think about the Phillips project over here, the apartment project. I think they've been at it for 5 years, and they're just getting it completed and opened up now. So these kind of projects, when you're involved with both the state and federal government, take time, and we're all anxious to get things moving forward, but our hands are tied as we have to work with those state and federal agencies. The state of Iowa has been very, very supportive of the Warden project and tying it to the rec center project, and as a key part of being a major anchor to our downtown redevelopment plan. And parking is a huge part of that. As you know, parking's been a kind of a sore thumb issue in downtown Fort Dodge for a number of years. And we think for Fort Dodge to really develop our downtown region, we've got to have a parking option that works well for everybody, especially for the Warden as well as the rec center, because parking as it is today is very limited, and you just have to have parking to accommodate people that want to live downtown or come down to the rec center. So we're going to stay positive and optimistic and keep moving forward. We've talked to some other cities that have been dealing with similar types of projects, and they've all agreed that you're going to run into road bumps and sometimes big potholes along the way, and you just got to stay you got to persevere through it and keep fighting forward, and that's what we hope to do. It's too important of a project, both the Warden and the rec center, for our community to give up on, because both are badly needed in our community and would be key projects for our downtown center.
Well, we want that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, Matt, you can't commit that we're going to get this done, huh?
Well, you know what? Yes, it will happen. There's no question in my mind. It's the right project. It's the right time for Fort Dodge. It's the right location, and ultimately, it's kind of crazy to think that for 2 years we've been working on this, just the pieces and parts that we're getting through here, but we're doing everything we're doing everything correctly when we do it. It's just taking longer than what we expect. But ultimately, as everybody says, I'm in direct contact with the State Historic Preservation Office. I'm in direct contact with several other individuals who've been in DC a couple of times on this one. And everybody says these types of projects take longer than you think. And I think that it's so true. And redevelopment's difficult, but when you add a historic component that also has some issues that need to be clarified and resolved and fixed, and then government shutdowns, those kinds of things happen. And I'm not saying government shutdowns slowing us down, but it's kind of crazy, but it is. I mean, we could have had those things already in hand, but no, we got to wait. So it's just stuff like that where we're sticking to what exactly we said we're going to do. And it's a matter of, it's going to take us a little time to get there, but I think everything is aligned in the right order, and all of the right people are involved. I think we're going to get there. I'd like to say it's sooner than what I would expect, but right now our schedules that we have show us completing the Warden apartments as soon as June of 2021. We would have a rec potentially by the fall of 2021, and then the parking structure, the intermodal hub, would be late 2021. So by end of year is our plan. That's the current plan we're working right now.
You're going to force me to keep working until that gets done so I can bark about it on the radio until hopefully it gets done.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, we are.
Well, Mike, and I'll just throw in from a rec center standpoint. If you look around the Midwest and the state of Iowa in particular, communities the size of Fort Dodge and larger, all of them are building these new rec fitness facilities. They're a quality of life amenity that every community understands there's a need for, as we try to create a culture here in Fort Dodge where people would want to move to Fort Dodge, and especially younger families with children. They want to see these kind of facilities. That's why you're seeing there's a fundraising effort going on in Ames right now for a new facility. Indianola, Sioux City, Waterloo, Des Moines, all of these towns are building new rec and fitness centers to accommodate their citizens and the families. And we definitely need one. Our building here for the rec center's landlocked. It's 60 some years old. So the time is right for us to get behind the rec center project, because it'll be a huge quality of life amenity for our community.
Matt Brown's been with us from the Formation Group. We've been talking about the Warden Plaza. Matt, I want to thank you for taking a few minutes and talking with us about this important subject.
Well, absolutely. Thank you for having me on the show today.
All right. We'll talk again. Thank you very much, and have a great weekend.
All right. You too.
All right. AM 1400 KVFT, the voice for Dodge. Well, I appreciate his confidence. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm always...
He's a confident and a very optimistic person, and he has to be in his field of work. But he's doing a great job for the community and for the city, and it's been a big help for us from a leadership standpoint of facilitating all of this behind-the-scenes efforts.
Well, it'll change our world if we get this done.
Yeah, and it's a great building. That's an iconic Fort Dodge building that, it's we either tear it down or we restore it, and I think...
How much would it cost to tear it down?
Well, quite honestly, I've heard numbers from anywhere from $6 to $10 million.
Yeah.
It's full of asbestos. There's a lot of, and it just leaves an empty space in downtown Fort Dodge.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody or most people would like to see it restored and turned into a building that would serve a real housing need in our community. These would be market rate upscale apartments, and it would be a culture changer for downtown Fort Dodge.
All right, let's go to the phones real quickly. AM 1400 KVFT, the voice for Dodge. We're almost out of time, but we have time for your question. What's going on?
I just one quick point. Make it bigger. The community center, the rec center has to be bigger.
The rec center has to be bigger.
We have to have more basketball courts, volleyball, all that kind of stuff. There's not enough court space for Fort Dodge, so make it bigger, even if it means it costs more. So.
You bet. You make a good point, because we do have a shortage of court space, especially in the wintertime, and our fundraising efforts and our ability to raise capital for the project will ultimately drive that decision. But we certainly have that goal.
Thank you for your question. It's 5:00 in the afternoon. Randy Kuhlman's been our guest. Good to see you up and around there, Coach.
Okay.
All right. See you. See you next Friday.
Thanks, Mike.
This is AM 1400 KVFT, the voice for Dodge. 5:00. Have a great weekend.
I'm Dave Ramsey. Join me every Monday through Friday afternoon from 5 to 8 p.m. on AM 1400 KVFD Fort Dodge.
They'll be back at it tomorrow. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News.
We're going to be, I believe, very productive over the weekend. We have a very talented group. They have a very talented group of people, so I understand. And I think some tremendous things will happen.
President Trump, after meeting with top lawmakers in an effort to end the government shutdown, now in its 14th day.
I thought it was really a very, very good meeting. We're all on the same path in terms of wanting to get government open.
But he also claimed he could build the border wall on his own, which is not the case. He would need approval to move funds from the Department of Defense from both the House and Senate Appropriations Committee. But Democrats say a deal to provide funding for the border wall can't happen until the government reopens.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer sounded less optimistic than their Republican counterparts about progress on ending a partial government shutdown.
It's very hard to see how progress will be made unless they open up the government.
Senate Republicans and the White House rejected bills passed by the House to reopen government agencies without border wall funding.
Services are being withheld from the American people. Paychecks are being withheld from people.
The House and Senate don't return to session until Tuesday.
Fox's Jared Halpern on Capitol Hill. The federal grand jury used by special counsel Robert Mueller is being extended after serving a standard 18-month term. The chief judge in the U.S. District Court in D.C. extended the term for up to 6 more months. Stocks reversing some of the big losses from the week. The Dow up 746. The NASDAQ gained 275. The S&P up 84.
The jobs report not the only bright spot for investors. Fed Chairman Jay Powell speaking at an event this morning
morning, indicating the central bank would monitor the market's moves. So traders heard a more cautious tone in his comments versus even what he was saying about a month ago.
Deirdre Bolton with the Fox Business Network. This is Fox News.
I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's premier home purchase lender. Today's fluctuating interest rates can leave you with unexpected higher mortgage payments. At Quicken Loans, we've created a new way to protect you from unpredictable interest rates so you can buy a home with certainty. It's called Rate Shield, and here's how it works. With Rate Shield, you can lock your interest rate while you shop for a new home. So if rates go up, you don't have to worry. And here's the best part. If rates go down, you get the lower rate. With Rate Shield, we really have you covered. Here are more reasons why you'll want to work with America's largest mortgage lender. For 9 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the 5th year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. Rate Shield, another way we can save you money on your mortgage. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Based on Rocket Mortgage data in comparison to public data records. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With us, look at local news for the newsroom. I'm Bob Fisher reporting. A candle has been pinpointed as the cause of a fire at a downtown Fort Dodge apartment complex yesterday. The Fort Dodge Fire Department tells us that they were called to the Biltwell Apartments at 106 North 10th Street shortly before 7 a.m. after a fire broke out in one of the apartments on the 6th floor. Firefighters were quickly able to control the blaze, but were on the scene for about 5 hours. One of the 6 people injured was taken to the hospital to be treated for smoke inhalation. The fire destroyed the apartment on the northeastern quarter of the 6th floor and caused heat and smoke damage.
Great, how are you doing?
Floor. Firefighters determined that the fire was started by an unattended candle in a bedroom. During the late stages of the 2018 campaign, Republican Governor Kim Reynolds proposed letting Iowa women
I'm
buy
Dave
pills
Ramsey.
without a prescription. She plans to press the 2019 legislature to pass a bill that would make birth control pills available in Iowa without a doctor's prescription.
This is another opportunity for us to have bipartisan support in something that makes sense.
In 2016, Democrats in the Iowa Senate passed a bill to make the policy in Iowa, but Republicans in the House tabled the proposal. Republican House Speaker Linda Upmeyer of Clear Lake says not all birth control pills are alike, and legislators will have to seek input from the medical community.
There are reasons that a physician would prescribe one over another. If someone has a predisposition to breast cancer, you want to make sure you're paying attention to your estrogen levels. Maybe there is one that is incredibly safe that people could agree to put on the shelf. I don't think we're opposed to that, but I do think we want to make sure it's safe for Iowans to have that access.
Democrats strongly criticized Reynolds for signing a bill last May to ban nearly all abortions, and Senate Democratic leader Janet Peterson of Des Moines says they're skeptical of this proposal too.
Iowa is in a really sad state as far as women's health care goes. It's getting harder and harder for women to find places and providers to get family planning services.
Peterson says many women want more effective long-term contraceptives rather than birth control pills, and the Republican effort to defund Planned Parenthood clinics has reduced access to those long-term options, especially in rural areas. The outline Governor Reynolds sketched during the campaign called for keeping birth control pills behind the pharmacy counter but letting women buy them without a prescription. Her proposal did not cover other birth control options. Iowans who raise money for nonprofits and foundations are facing new challenges in the new year as a new federal tax law is raising concerns. Stacey Palmer is editor of the Chronicle of Philanthropy and says overall charitable contributions have been rising from low-income earners and those on the high end.
Middle-income people give in a lot of different ways, but that's where the biggest drop in the share of people who are giving is coming. And so people are really starting to raise questions about how can you persuade those people to start giving again or giving more.
That fall in donations from middle-income earners is a problem, she says, because nonprofits need her.
Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, it's the Dave Ramsey Show, where debt is dumb, cash is king, and the paid-off home mortgage has taken the place of the BMW as the status symbol of choice. I'm Dave Ramsey, your host. This is your show, America. We're glad you're here. Open phones at 888-825-5225. That's 888-825-5225. Kenneth starts off this hour in Nashville. Hey, Kenneth, welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ramsey. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure. How can I help?
Well, I had a quick question in regards to IRAs, and I was hoping you could walk me through the math. And I'll just use some round numbers. If I have $100,000 in a regular IRA and I'm in a 25% tax bracket, would it be beneficial to convert a net amount of $75,000 to a Roth IRA versus leaving the $100,000 in the regular IRA account if I don't have any other non-retirement funds available?
I wouldn't do that. Okay. Now, the math is, if we want to work on hypotheticals, and then I'll walk you through why I wouldn't do that. But the math is this. If you are in a 25% tax bracket and you leave $100,000 in a traditional, the amount it will grow to, and if you stay in the same tax bracket, of course, you assume the same tax bracket at retirement, and you probably would be higher, actually, if you as young as you are with $100,000, what it would grow to. But anyway, let's just, for math purposes, use the same tax bracket. If the $100,000 grows to, I'm going to put it in the calculator because this is a fun exercise. All right, I'm going to make that the present value. How old are you?
35.
Okay. And so let's do 30 years. All right. And I'll just use 12% for the purposes of this discussion. We're going to add nothing to it. And that 100,000 would become $3,594,000. Okay. But then you got to pay taxes on the whole thing. If it's in a 25% tax bracket, it'd be 25% off of that, right?
Yep.
Okay. Now, if you take the 25% off now and you take the 100 down to 75, and I put 75 in that same formula, guess what? It will be 25% less than $3,940,000 in net of taxes then. So it's exactly a break even.
So you're really just counting on the tax rate differences then at that point.
You don't get any benefit at all. You break even, other than it's all tax. I mean, it's all tax free if it's in the Roth, but it's 25% smaller. And your non-tax free was 25% larger. After taxes, it's exactly the same as you have after a Roth, which is after taxes because it's tax free. So there's zero benefit to doing what you're talking about, assuming tax brackets don't change. And that's obviously not going to occur. We don't know whether they're going to go up, they're going to go down. We don't know whether you're going to be in a larger tax bracket with $3,600,000. You'd likely be in a higher tax bracket. But unless tax brackets change, and now we're predicting the political climate, that's a joke. So, all of that aside, but if we're just doing pure math and we said, assuming tax brackets remain the same, the amount that you reduce your account by today just lost that growth, which is the exact same amount that it would be your tax bill then. So you see what I'm saying? So that's why I tell people to never do it. What I do tell you to do is wait until you're at baby step 6. You got your house paid off and you got some extra cash laying around. Then, and that might be like age 40. For you. Okay. Then you roll the whole 100 over and you pay the 25% in taxes out of non-retirement money. That has the same effect of having actually invested 25% more into the Roth mathematically because of the discussion we're having. Is that logical?
Yep, that makes sense.
So, but the thing is, it's kind of like comparing, I can put 5,500 into a traditional Roth, or I can put 5,500 into a regular, into a traditional IRA, or I can put 5,500 into a traditional IRA or a Roth. Well, that's not apples to apples because the 5,500 you're putting into the Roth is after tax. To do that, to compare apples to apples, you'd have to reduce the amount that you put in the Roth by your tax bracket today, which nobody does that. Everybody maxes it, right? So you're really comparing apples to oranges when you compare a traditional 5,500 with a Roth 5,500 because one's after tax going in. So the Roth is as if you put in 25% more money because you had to make 25% more to do that. But you're a math guy, and so I'm having fun discussing this because I'm a math nerd to no end. So, but in the real world, what I had to figure out is it doesn't matter if I've got all that math figured out when in reality, people put 5,500 in either one. So guess what? I'm actually talking them into investing more money when they put 5,500 into their Roth. It's a trick.
Yeah.
But it causes people to become wealthy. So it's a great trick. You just got to have more money at retirement. Fun discussion. Hey, thanks for calling in. Robert is with us in Chicago. Hey, Robert, how are you?
Good. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure. What's up?
So my sister is 28 years old, and she has $10,000 in car loans and $40,000 in private student loans. And this will be the fourth month that she has not paid for those loans. And my mom is 65, retired, with government pension and Social Security. She is the co-signer, so she did get a formal warning from the collectors about submitting her to the credit bureau and trying to scare her. So my question is, can her wages be garnished?
No. Okay. But they can be, her government and her social can be deducted for the student loans. But they can't be garnished on the car. That's not technically a garnishment. It is a garnishment. It's the way it works. But yeah, the student loans can get to her, but the car can't get to her. Now, if she owns anything else, if she has money in a bank account somewhere, they could get that.
Yeah, she has a traditional IRA with.
They can't get that. They can't get that. But if she has a bank account with $10,000 in it, just sitting there, they could just grab that after they sued you and won. So, how much has mom got in her IRA?
$92,000.
And what's sister's problem?
She loves to take on debt and never pay it back.
I figured that out. But I'm saying, why was she paying up until 4 months ago and now she's not?
I guess she just couldn't find any clients. We're not too sure. She wouldn't tell us why she couldn't pay.
Okay. So she's dumping it on her mom, who's retired and on a fixed income and doesn't hardly have any money.
Exactly.
What a winner.
Oh, unfortunately, yeah.
There's one in every family, brother. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
So
mom is liable. Mom is liable.
Okay.
For sure. Right. She signed the note. That's what co-signing is. That's why co-signing's stupid. And so have they picked up the car?
Not yet, but they are threatening.
Good. I would encourage the repossession of the car.
I believe she has 1 more month before that happens.
Oh, no, it's 4 months. They can get it now. I would tell mom to call them since she's on the account and tell them to come get the car. Well, let's shake sister's tree a little. Okay. Get her car out of the driveway. I bet she finds some clients.
Right.
Exactly. Nothing like it being, yeah. And then you can help mom work to settle the debt on the repo. And mom's credit is going to be messed up, but it was messed up when there was 4 payments not made. Yeah, tell him to come get the car. Let's see if we can get this thing moving. Dave's in a mean mood. This is the Dave Ramsey Show. One of the smartest things you can do is take good care of your teeth that will save you tons of money in the long run. To help, I recommend all my listeners check out OneDental.com. It's not dental insurance. One Dental is a dental discount program that functions like a membership club. Think of it like Costco. You join for a small yearly fee, and you save big every time you use it. I'm talking discounts on all procedures from routine cleanings to root canals. In fact, 2 of my team members have saved over $1,000 with the One Dental plan. And this is not just for you and your family. There are group rates for your business, church, or association available full-time, part-time, and contract employees, volunteers, and members. Join the 15 million people across the country who are already saving with these plans. To get a special discount from my listeners, go to onedental.com/Dave. Start saving today at onedental.com/Dave.
Christians have an affordable and credible way to meet their overwhelming healthcare costs. It's Christian Healthcare Ministries, the original health cost sharing ministry. A Better Business Bureau accredited organization, CHM members share to pay each other's medical bills. It's not insurance. It's Christians financially and spiritually supporting each other. It's what CHM has done for over 35 years. Learn more at chministries.org. That's chministries.org. Christian Healthcare Ministries is a proud sponsor of Dave Ramsey live events.
Hey, this is Rachel Cruz. Dad has always drilled into us that you can buy quality things and still get a great deal. That's why I love Tuft & Needle mattresses. Tuft & Needle offers amazing mattresses for every budget. And now they have a brand new mattress called Mint. They took their best mattress and made it even better. It's incredible. Try Tuft & Needle for 100 nights risk-free at tn.com. That's tn.com. And remember, it ships for free. That's tn.com.
Radio Iowa News is presented by the Iowa Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. If you see something, say something. Even if you think it's insignificant, call 911.
I'm Pat Curtis. The Iowa Department of Public Health today confirmed the first flu-related death this flu season. Department Medical Director Caitlin Pedati.
This was a middle-aged Iowan from the eastern portion of the state who did have some underlying contributing factors. And anytime, we have a death like this, of course, it's a terrible tragedy.
Pedati is using the tragedy to remind Iowans it's not too late to get the flu vaccine to protect yourself. One person was taken to the hospital to be treated for smoke inhalation, while 5 others were treated at the scene of an apartment building fire in Fort Dodge this morning. Investigators believe the fire started with a candle that was left burning in a bedroom of an apartment. Radio Iowa News, online at radioiowa.com.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Jelly. Jelly adjective. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt US Kids, and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Hundo P. Hundo P. Adjective. Short for being 100% sure or certain. As in, if we get a puppy, I'll hundo P always walk it.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt US Kids, and the Ad Council.
Thanks for joining us, America. We're glad you are here. Open phones this hour at 888-825-5225. Jasmine is in Charleston, South Carolina. Hi, Jasmine. How are you?
Good. How are you, Dave?
Better than I deserve. What's up?
So currently my husband and I are on baby step 2, but he's in the military, and it's coming down to the wire to pick his retirement plan. So we can either go with the blended retirement system or we can stick with the regular TSP, and we have to make that decision in a few months. And so I was wondering if you know which one would be better for us.
The TSP.
The TSP, stick with that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And but don't put anything in it right now till you get out of baby step 2.
No, we've stopped all of the contributions to it.
Here's the reason. It's much like having a company pension plan versus having a 401k. The 401k, you put all the money in, not counting the match and the growth, okay? But when you leave the company, you can roll that to an IRA and you take it with you. You control what it's invested in. The company pension, in this case, the government plan with the military, is not controlled by you. And you don't take it with you. Oh, and by the way, with the company pension or the military, when you die, it dies with you. You can pick joint survivor if you want to, take lesser payment. Your spouse gets some till they die. But ultimately, when you're both gone, it's gone. When you roll your money out of your 401k or your TSP, in your case, if there's $1 million in there, it's left for your kids. It doesn't die when you die. And so it comes out better for while you're alive and while you're dead if you invest it well to pick 401k versus company pension or TSP versus government benefits plan. And they've brought the blended down to reflect that. It used to be that the military was so strong on retirement that it offset that. And you went with the military.